What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. All right, so we have everything ready to go here. We're going to be watching mainly, I'll be honest with you guys, mainly we're going to be focused on the race in Iowa. So we're looking at the Senate race in Iowa, the primary for the Democrats. We know who the Republican nominee will be, so we're going to be focused on that. Is it going to be TEC or Walz? We're also going to be looking at the California governor's race. I want to see how that plays out. I live in California, so I just went and voted earlier today. And so we're going to have to, I want to see how that turns out. I'm really, really fascinated with that whole race, see who the top two vote getters are going to be. So that will be definitely what we look at. Let me show you guys my screen here so you can see what we're looking at here. So what we have is will be this CNN on the right hand side here. I'll open that up when if I see them talking about the races. And we have Iowa here, so those polls will close first, and then we'll take a look at California governor's race, and then we'll look at some other races too. You guys can let me know in the chat what you guys want to see. But we're starting early today. I know the California race isn't going to. They're not. I think the polls close at, I want to say 8 or 9. So it's going to be a little while before those polls close. But we'll take a look at the Iowa stuff here. They're talking a little bit right here. Let me see. Let me open this up.
Our Chief National Affairs Correspondent Jeff Zeleny is at TEC headquarters in Des Moines. So talk to us about the primary race and how it could shape Democrats' potential path to a Senate majority.
Anderson, there is no question that Iowa has steadily morphed into effectively a red state, but Democrats feel more optimistic about their chances in Iowa than they have in years, and Republicans I've been talking to also acknowledge deep concerns about the farm economy, about rising diesel and gas prices, about Medicaid cuts, about rural hospital closures. All of these issues are going to be on the ballot in the fall. But this Senate race specifically, it's an open seat. Joni Ernst, the Republican, decided to not seek a third term, so a very competitive Senate Democratic primary tonight. The winner will face Ashley Hinson, who is a Republican member of Congress. But it's not just the Senate race. The governor's race also is open, and there are at least 3 competitive House races. And you'll remember back in 2018, in the first midterm election of the first Trump administration, Democrats won 3 House seats, helping them to win the House majority. So for all of those factors coming into play, it gives Democrats some hope. It is it's certainly not a sure thing here, just given the makeup of the state. But Iowa has something else that is an interesting political fact that Ron Brownstein was talking about earlier. It has more counties in America than any other state that voted twice for Barack Obama and then again 3 times for Donald Trump. 31 of those counties. So there is a sense here that voters have the ability to go both ways, but this is certainly testing the proposition of if voters have an appetite for Democrats in what clearly is now Trump country. Anderson.
Jeff Zeleny, thanks very much, Jeff. Appreciate it. Back with the panel. Do you feel just you're Democrat?
All right, let's we don't need to hear the panel right now. But I want you guys, when you guys come in, let me know you're here by just saying hello, and let me know where you're watching me from too. I always like to know where you guys are watching me from. And we'll take a look at some of the comments that you guys have right now and some questions if you guys have any questions. But yes, this is going to be a long night, very long night. But it's all worth it in the end. I mean, this is I get excited about election time. I know that might sound a little weird, but I've always been interested in politics. I've majored in political science, so if that tells you anything about what I was focused on when I was younger, it was definitely politics. And even now, I still very, very interested in just the process. And so anyway, we're going to watch this. I know New Jersey, I didn't pull up New Jersey. I didn't really see any races that were really significant. I mainly want to focus on right now in Iowa, the Democratic primary, because this is going to determine who is going to run against Henson, and there's a lot on the line when it comes to Iowa. As you heard them talking about Iowa is a red state, but now that it's an open seat in Iowa, it does give Democrats an opportunity. Okay, now I'm not saying Democrats are going to win, but it gives them an opportunity, and you never know what's going to happen. Okay, and just having that a real opportunity to win. If we are looking at a wave election, I'm putting my tablet together here. If we're looking at a wave election, then we could definitely see a Democrat win. It's not impossible for that to happen. Let's see here. All right, we'll do that. I want to have my tablet open so we can take a look. I did a video. Actually, I did a video today. The AI model that I was working on. So if you haven't caught that video after this live stream, go over there and check that video out. And what's interesting about the whole AI model that I'm doing is I'm asking AI to predict or give us a forecast of the seat gain when it comes to the House. So Democrats and Republicans, or Democrats or Republicans, but mainly we're focused on Democrats because Republicans have control right now. So we're looking at Democrats. What are the chances of Democrats taking back control of the House? And so it's interesting because when I started doing the AI model, I started that back in, I believe it was like August or September of last year. And it was, it started off slow, but with our economy and everything, a lot has changed because our economy is doing a lot worse than what it was back then. And I based this on historical factors. So I asked AI, give me some historical factors that play a role in the, historical factors that play a role in elections. And so that's what AI did. So they looked at GDP, they looked at inflation, they looked at all this different information. And what I ended up finding out is as we moved forward closer and closer to the election, those numbers just got out of control, where we were looking at the House could flip by 63 seats or something crazy like that. And that's just not realistic because there aren't that many seats available for Democrats to win. Realistically win. I shouldn't say to win. They could, but realistically, you're looking at some of these solid Republican seats that Democrats are most likely not going to be able to win. And so that's why I had to change the model. So if you haven't watched that video, check it out, because the last AI video that I put, the last video that I put about AI making predictions, I've changed the model, so now it's a little bit different. Okay, all right. So as I stated, let me know where you're watching me from. We have Debbie coming in from Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky. Thank you for stopping by and watching, and hopefully you get all the information that you need about what's going on right now. I'm still rusty when it comes to doing these live streams. I'll get there. It's going to take me a little while. I used to do live streams on a regular basis. This was years ago. And so I'm still just working on all the little things that I have set up here. Let's see. They're talking about, New Jersey. Let's open this up.
A former military helicopter pilot, the favorite of the Democratic establishment there. Democrats and even Republicans, they believe she's the best candidate in this race. You see, with about half of the vote in, she's getting 48%, if you round that up. Two challenges down there. This is one of many races in this cycle across the country where we've seen so-called mischief money. Republicans who knew that she would be a better candidate spent some money trying to support her rivals. We've just projected now Rebecca Bennett will win this race. And you mentioned the congressman she'll be running against. That's Tom Kean Jr. He was unopposed in the primary. As you noted, he has not been in Washington since March, missed more than 100 votes His campaign says he has an illness and more information is coming. But there's growing anxiety in the Republican Party. This was going to be a battleground race anyway. Kaine trying to hold on to that seat. Rebecca Bennett will now be his opponent. The Democrats are going to have to pick up about a dozen seats now because of redistricting probably to get the majority. This one is high on their list, and the Democrats think tonight they've nominated their best candidate.
Well, speaking of who Democrats think is their best candidate, I mean, we're all watching this California governor's race that has been absolutely wild, that's been playing out. Those polls close in about 2 hours. What's your sense of how it's shaping up as voters are casting their ballots?
So this one, for a lot of people around the country, is sort of a bit of a head shaker, right? It's called the jungle primary, an open primary. In most states, you have a Democratic primary and a Republican Party primary. California, one of the states that says everybody runs in one primary, and the top two make it to the general election. So you see Democrats, you see some Republicans, there are independents in this race. We're trying to see the results there. This one has been a big drama. You had Eric Swalwell dropped out of the race because of scandal. He was the front runner at the point when he did that. So you're trying to find two, and you note at the top of the program, California is a blue state. It will remain a blue state. However, it's had Democratic leadership for a long time. Is that frustration enough to elect a Republican? First, one of these Republicans would have to make the ballot. Polls have shown the former Fox News host Steve Hilton is competitive for that. Javier Becerra, the former Biden administration cabinet member, he was the attorney general in California previously. He's been in the polls. Tom Steyer, remember, he ran for president in 2020, a billionaire, spending a lot of his own money. He's risen in the polls. Some people think it will be Steyer-Becerra. Some people think it will be Becerra-Hilton. Some people think maybe Steyer jumps one of them. This is why we count votes. We're a couple hours away from that. But just a quick reminder, Gavin Newsom, term limited, can't run for re-election. He got 59% last time to 41% for then Republican State Senator Brian Dahl. So California has been a blue state for a long time. But in a year we're talking about voter frustration, most of that is anti-Trump. Most of that is because of the affordability crisis. We'll see if some of that kicks California Democrats because they've been in power a long time.
Yeah, we'll be watching it very closely. John King at the Magic Wall, thank you for that. And as we await for more results from the Magic Wall.
All right, so we're going to keep going in and out as we're watching here. I just want to make sure everything is set up. So I have a question for you. Can I do? Let's see here. I haven't done a poll here in a long time. How do we do those? Okay, give me 1 second, guys. I don't even know how to do that. Okay. I'm gonna have to figure that out in another video, another live. I don't know how to do polls. Let's see. Reactions, pop-up chat. I don't see it here. Okay. I don't know how to do a poll. We'll just I'll ask you guys to poll here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do some research. I don't know how to do a poll. I haven't done one before. Okay, but anyway, so what I've done, and I've been asking questions in on the community tab for a while now, for at least a month and a half, and I asked a series of questions, and sometimes I will overlap questions. So I'll ask you a question just to get your feeling on just certain situations. And one situation that I wanted to talk about today is Alaska. So this question here, and we have a bunch of them, so we're going to go through these as we progress into the night. But one is here: is Alaska now a real Senate pickup opportunity for Democrats in 2026? And this is what you guys said. Okay, and let me change the color here. That's good. All right. So we have, make that smaller. That's what we have to do. Okay. So 73% here. 73% say yes, it's a real battleground. And then we have 19% say maybe, but still leans Republican. And then we have 3% says no, Sullivan is still favored. And then too early to tell is 5%. So look at that, 73%. That's what you guys are saying there. And we still have, there's still 19%. So 19% are saying that it still leans Republican. I would tend to agree. It does still, well, yeah, I have to, no, it used to, the only reason that I would say it leans Republican at this point is because you have a Republican senator. That's the only reason. But looking at the polling is showing us different. The polling is showing us that it is a real battleground, and basically Peltola is leading in the polls, so, or leading in the polls that I've seen. All the recent polls, she's ahead. So that's showing us that it's closer to a battleground than just saying it's leans for Republicans. Okay, let's we have some information coming out right now. So this is Iowa. So we're taking a look here, and let me show you. So we're looking at the Senate Democratic primary. Okay, and numbers are coming in real fast here. Wow, they're coming in a lot. Okay, so they doubled up the numbers. So you have Tarek and you have Walz. Okay, and Tarek is the paraplegic. He was a Olympian. I can't say the word. Paralympian, but he was an Olympian. And you have Walz, and I'm embarrassed to say this, but I haven't done that much research on these two candidates. I know Walz was famous for a speech that he did several years back where he was talking about he was raised by two moms. And so he was talking about that. And so, yeah, I haven't done that much research on them. But as soon as we find out who wins here, then you know that's going to be the race. It's going to be between Tarek or Walz against Hinson. So if you guys are in Iowa, let me know what you think about these two candidates. I believe that looking at the latest polls, they're pretty much neck and neck. This race in Iowa was very close. So we'll have to see how this plays out. But right now we're looking at 13% reporting, and we have Tarek ahead. And let's see. So Tarek is the green color here, and then Walz is the blue. So we can look down at the map here and see that the numbers are coming in for Tarek right now. So he's winning these different counties. We'll have to see if that continues. But then we have another county just reported, so they're moving up here. 14% in. They're moving really fast with the votes. We'll see. Cory Booker there is on the right side, talking with Caitlin Collins. Okay, I want to get to the chat though, as we're watching these numbers come in, and we'll give some shout outs as we do this. And so I know there are people talking about, let's see. You know what? Let me move all the way down to the bottom. Okay. Right here, South Carolina. All right. So we have Jerry watching from South Carolina. Thank you for stopping by. We have someone. Sweden must be beautiful. I don't know what that means. You guys are talking about something else. And all right, what's going on, buddy? Let's see who else we have in here in the building. Sean, thank you for being here, Sean. Let's see what else. Seattle, Karen coming in from Seattle. Thank you for being here, Karen. And I'm just looking to see where you guys are watching from. So just let me know where you're watching me from if you haven't done that yet. And we have Joe coming in from Reno, Nevada. And who else? We have another person from Nevada, Heather. Thank you for watching. Who else? And Sean is saying that Tarek is his choice. Let's see. Is that Raina? Raina coming from South Carolina. Thank you for watching. We have Patsy coming from Alabama. Thank you for watching. And I think that's it. Yeah, I think I went through everybody as far as where you're watching from. Okay, so I was talking about Alaska. Let's see. I know there were some comments about Alaska. See if we can get back up there to that. And then as we see more returns come in, we have TEC at 23,000, Walls at 12,000, and 19% reporting. They're going to go through this really fast in Iowa, the Senate race. I'm not really focused on anything else in Iowa, so we'll just keep it on the Senate race for now. And you guys can always let me know what you want to see. So if you do want to see a specific race, we'll take a look at that. Kenneth coming in, watching us from Jackson, Mississippi. Thank you for stopping by. And here we go. Here's Alaska stuff. And Arrod is saying that Alaska is definitely or absolutely blue. The Alaska historically Republicans, but the tide is turning. I would agree. There's something going on in Alaska. And like I said, looking at polling and looking at polling before Peltola even stepped in. This was back. We were looking at polling back in. Oh man, this was October of last year. And it was showing Peltola, and she hadn't decided that she was running against Sullivan, but it was showing that she was leading in the polls, and she hadn't even declared that she was going to be running. So that was amazing to me. And then we saw a couple of other polls after that, before she announced, a couple other polls saying the same thing, that she's ahead. And so then once she announced in, I believe it was January 12th of this year, then we saw her continue to have a lead in the polls. So there is something going on currently going on in Alaska. And so we'll have to see how things play out. I wish there was like a good special election that we could look to kind of give us an idea of what's going on, like a statewide race. But unfortunately, we don't have any. So we're just going to have to trust the polls at this point and see if it comes out, if she's able to actually win. We'll have to see that. And let's see. Okay. All right. So, Karen, watching from Pioneer, California. Thank you for stopping by. And who is this? Francis? It says Becerra for governor. Okay, yeah, he's running, that's for sure. Okay, Alaska, Murkowski has turned independent. Trump hates her. Yeah, she's been one on Trump's list, right? Trump has a list of people that or Republicans that he's not happy with. She's definitely one of them because she doesn't vote with the president on every issue. And we saw what happened in Texas. You have to vote with President Trump on every issue or he's not going to like you. Cornyn found that out the hard way. Cornyn pretty much, what was it, like 99% of the time he voted with President Trump. But that one time or two times that he didn't vote with President Trump, now President Trump, wanted to primary him. And guess what? He got primaried. So, yeah, yeah, I don't know. Republicans are, the Republicans that are running for re-election some of them are very scared because they don't know how to handle this whole situation with Trump. Because, I've stated this before, it's not like they can run on an economy that's doing really well for the American people. Okay, because the first thing that you're going to hear when they start talking about the economy, the current administration is going to say, well, the stock market's doing well. Well, the stock market isn't the economy. I mean, people are struggling all over the U.S. right now. And they're trying to, they're trying to let people know, hey, things are bad. Like the American people are trying to let Congress know and the White House know that things are really bad, but the White House they're not responding to that. I mean, we just saw what's going on in Iran right now, where they were trying to work out a deal to open up the Strait of Hormuz. Looks like that's off the table right now, so we're going to continue to struggle as a result of that. And they're talking about gas prices might spike in a couple of weeks because we're going to be very short on oil supply. And if that happens, then that's supply and demand. Gas prices are going to skyrocket. And if they skyrocket, that means, they've already increased. But if we see a shortage and we see gas prices really skyrocket, then that's going to impact the things that we buy even more. Because remember, transportation, those products need to get to us, and the way that they get to us is by, well, a variety of different ways they get to us, but you need fuel in order to get them there. So, yeah. Okay. All right, so we're seeing more returns come in, and we're just watching here. So TEC right now is at 29,000. So TEC he's had the lead this whole time. So we'll see if he's able to keep that lead. We have Sioux City Walls is, well, you see the votes there, 41. So just 41 votes in right now in that county. Yeah, so we'll have to see how it plays out here. We're watching this in real time, and my internet is good. All right, we'll keep that. I had to upgrade my internet. I didn't realize my internet was as bad as it was. The last live stream that we did, man, it was bad. So yeah, I upped the internet, so hopefully we won't have any issues right now. And that just reminds me, maybe I should turn on one more thing here. All right, it's showing. You guys see I'm from California. They got the commercials. That's all you're seeing right now are the commercials for this midterm. All right, I'm just turning on another TV here. Now, if this gets slow, then I'm gonna have to turn it off. But right now, we'll just keep it on and see if see what all's going on here. Okay, so questions. Put it in the chat. We could talk about it. But yeah, I do agree. I do agree when it comes to Alaska. Drop this down a little bit. Okay. All right, so where's TEC now? Let's see. 64%. Walls at 17. Okay. All right. And can I make a quick? No, I can't do that. All right, so let's do some polls. That's what I wanted to do before. So we'll do some polls. Who do you think are going to be the top two in the California governor's race? So just put that. So you can either put Becerra, Steyer, Hilton, Bianco, whatever you guys think. Just put it in the chat, and we'll do a poll that way. And then I need to figure out in the future how to do regular polls. I know it's there. It's a feature. I just don't know. I've never done one before. So if you guys do live streams, you know how to do that, let me know, because for whatever reason, there's nothing showing me how to do a poll. Let's see. Yeah, no. Activity. Nope. Okay. All right. All right, so I'm seeing, okay, you guys are saying Becerra Hilton. If you guys don't know, if you haven't been following the governor's race in California, it's a jungle primary, which means the top two vote getters move to the general. And so there was a time a couple months ago where people were really nervous about this, and we'll have to see if there's still reason to be nervous for Democrats, mainly because Democrats were looking at a possibility of being shut out of the general because there were so many Democrats running. It was like 8 or 9 Democrats running, and you only had 2 Republicans. You had Hilton and Bianco, and they were at the top. They were at the top because you had all these votes for Democrats being split by all these different people, or at least I shouldn't say votes. The polling was showing, because the polling was all split because you had all these different people on the Democratic ticket that were running. And so there was a fear that if you don't have a Democrat at the top, you know, in the top 2, if it's Hilton and Bianco, both Republicans, then guess what? Governor's going to be a Republican, because that's how it played out. Democrats had too many candidates. And so there was talk. They wanted Democrats to reduce the amount of candidates that they had. But, you know, it's unfortunate a few of them dropped out, but a lot of them stayed in. At least they're still on the ballot. And I looked, because I voted today. I'm in California. That ballot had 61, no, 60, 61, and I counted them. The whole front page was the governor's race. All of the candidates. There were at least 61 that I counted. 61 people on that ballot. That's just insane. Now, not all Democrats, of course, but and a lot of these people you don't even know because their name's on the ballot, but there was no real campaign or anything. So 61 people. But anyway, you still had a lot of Democrats that are on the ballot right now. And when you have to go through 61 in order for me to find the candidate that I wanted, I had to go through, and it's crazy. So yes, so that's where we are right now. And I think right now, looking at the latest polling, I just did a video a couple of days ago. Emerson put out a poll, and their poll was showing that Becerra was at 28%, and then you had Steyer jumped in there at 20, I want to say like 22% or so, and then Hilton came right below him, I think 21%. So Becerra, he's a Democrat, Steyer's a Democrat, Hilton's a Republican, Bianco's a Republican. You have Katie Porter. She's actually lost a lot of steam in the last month or so. So she was up in the double digits, but now she's down. At least the latest polling is showing her in the single digits. So we'll have to see how she performs as well. Okay, so let's see. So yeah, most of what I'm seeing: Becerra, Steyer, Hilton. So you guys definitely think Becerra is going to be one of the top 2 vote getters. And I saw this too. I saw that. Yeah, Barack Hussein Obama. No, Barack Hussein Obama. Yeah, I saw that on the ballot. Just random on the ballot, you see Barack Obama I'm talking about for the governor's race. So I don't know if this person changed their name or I don't know, but yeah, that was definitely on there. See, Democrats might be shooting themselves in the foot in the California primary. Yes. The reality here is Democrats just need to get one Democrat. They can get one Democrat in the top 2, then that Democrat is going to be the next governor. But if we do see it spread wide, then yeah, we could see a Republican become governor in California. Now, you can still, even if you have a governor, let's give it that scenario where you have a Republican come in as governor in California, and California is a blue state, and vast majority of the voters are Democrats. So if we did see that situation, they could recall the governor. I mean, that's a possibility. We've seen that happen in California before. So have a recall election, and then once that's done, then you have they'll vote for a Democrat. So that's very possible. If we did see a scenario where Republicans win win the governor's race. Let's see. All right, Joe's saying, I like Katie Porter, but she should have never left her seat in the House. Yeah, I mean, she took a gamble, and obviously it didn't pay off. What did she do? She ran for was it Senate? Yeah, I think Katie Porter ran for the Senate. Yeah, she ran for the Senate, and then now she's running for governor. But yeah, she's fallen off. I mean, when she was a representative, she was pretty popular in Orange County. She's from Orange County, but I think she set her sights a little bit higher than maybe she should have, and now she's struggling to try to win this governor's seat, and it's not looking good for her right now. At least the polling is showing us that. And Daniel saying, yeah, he changed his name. Barack Hussein Obama. That's just crazy. I did see that. It was down like, I'm looking through the list. Like I said, there's like 61 people on that list. And you get down to the bottom and you see Barack Hussein Obama. Crazy. All right. Yeah, so it is. I mean, you guys are pretty much saying the same thing. And let's do the Iowa one. So we're already seeing this unfold in the Democratic primary. Do you think it's going to be Tarek or Walz? You guys can let me know that. Just put Tarek or Walz. We'll do that one. And Mark is saying, yes, she ran for Senate, but they all become too ambitious. Yeah. Same with the San Jose mayor. Yeah, that's really strange. Like, so you have, is it Mehan? He's running for governor. He was a mayor, or is a mayor right now. I don't know his current status. I think he's still a mayor in San Jose. A lot of money in San Jose. So he was able to get a lot of money through fundraising to run. But you go from mayor to governor. I could see it if you're mayor of Los Angeles, a large city, but the mayor of San Jose running for governor, I think that's a reach. That's a big reach. So yeah, that's some politicians, they I don't know. They think, oh, I can do it. And they probably get pumped up by a few of their, people that are helping them. Maybe even people that are potentially want a job as a campaign manager or something, telling them, hey, you can do it. You can win. And so they jump in the race, and then they find out that, yeah, it's a lot harder than I thought. I mean, I can at least understand Katie Porter, what she was thinking, because she's a very popular, or was a very popular representative. And, she had her little chalkboard or her little dry erase board on the, in the committee hearings. And she would go back and forth with, in these, interrogations, basically is what it was. But she got a lot of notoriety from that. And so I could see her thinking, yeah, you know what, I could probably be a senator in California. But she wasn't able to win that race. And then, the information came out about her, or did that come out during her Senate bid? Or no, that came out the governor's race, where she was yelling at one of her aides on camera, and it was being recorded, and they played that back, and it just doesn't look good for her to be, she said, get out of my shot. But she used profanity when she said it, and it didn't look good. It definitely didn't look good. And from that point on, I think some people in California kind of got a different idea of her, opinion of her. So All right. All right. So, and I have to pre-screen your chat. So that's the reason why it might get a little quiet when I'm just looking at the chat just to see what you guys. I can't just put anything up there like this is good, bad calculation, that's fine. But if I just put it up there and then I read it, then it's like, oh, okay, yeah. If it's something that's that's bad. And trust me, some of you guys say some things that are shouldn't, they're not for YouTube. All right. All right. Okay, so looking at our screen here, we have Tarek at, they called it. I'm just talking and not paying attention. So they called the race. Tarek did win. Right now, it's only, 28% reporting, but they went through this really fast. So Tarek he will be the Democratic nominee, and he is the Paralympian. And I think someone in the chat said he had spina bifida. I hope I said that right. And so what I found fascinating about him, and I watched a few clips on him doing like a precinct walk, just basically canvassing, going house to house. He's in a wheelchair, so he was in his wheelchair and he was going, and how people have their porch, some people have the steps. So he was literally getting out of his wheelchair, and he can't walk, so he was getting out of his wheelchair and putting his butt on the step and then scooting his way up to the door. So I mean, that's dedication to doing canvassing and wanting to get out there and talk to the people. And so yeah, they were following him. I think it was either PBS or someone was following him. But yeah, he's going to be the Democratic nominee, and he's going to be going up against Henson. And she is a current congresswoman. She's a representative. And so we'll have to see how that race plays out. Now that we have the two, we'll have to see where that goes. But it'll be Iowa. We're going to have to see how Iowa turns out. I want to see what the polling is showing us in Iowa, because right now there are not a lot of polls coming out of Iowa. So I always look when I go over my little Senate map. I always look at, let me come back to our main screen here. Let's see. No, this is here. Okay. When I look at the Senate map, and I just want to pull up that really quick. When we're looking at the Senate map, Iowa to me is always, I don't really know how to call that. I do call it as, when I say call it, I just mean, is it like in play or is it not in play? Iowa's very hard for me to kind of figure out where it is. And the reason why is because we didn't have candidates. First of all, we didn't know who's going to be running against who. We knew Henson was going to be on the Republican side, but on the Democratic side, we were unclear. But the thing about Iowa is we just don't have a lot of polling. Like some of these states, we have polling. Maine, we have polling. Okay, even with Plattner, the little scandal, and that I'll talk about that a little bit later. But even with that, I think Plattner is still going to be in the polls. He's still going to be ahead of Collins, and he'll see. I mean, the Democrats still have a real good shot at winning in Maine. I think their best shot. They have their best shot now, and with the conditions, with everything, I think, it's a realistic possibility for them to win in Maine. North Carolina, we know how to call that. Roy Cooper's doing really well in the polling. Two-time governor. He's pretty much, it's his race to lose at this point. So that's what we're looking at. North Carolina, Alaska. I talked about Alaska before. I think Alaska is a very realistic pickup for Democrats. I think Peltola can win. We'll have to see how that plays out. Even though she's going up against Sullivan, who's an incumbent, there's something going on in Alaska where people are not completely satisfied with Collins with Sullivan. And so these three states, I think we have a pretty good idea of where they're going or where they could go. Now, when we start looking at Texas, when we start looking at Ohio, we start looking at Iowa, that's where it gets a little more tricky. We don't know exactly how those are going to play out. And I would say out of Texas and Ohio, I think I would say they lean Republican, but Democrats do have a real shot at winning, a real shot. But Iowa, we don't have polls. Like, I don't know really, we don't have enough polls to know where this is going, this race. And so I'm going to be following it closely now, especially just to see in the next couple of weeks if we get some real good polling coming in showing us that where they are, how close this race is. Is it still a close race, or is it a race that's just Henson's to lose? Is Henson going to be able to win without any real challenge from Turek? Okay. All right, let's see. And our Texas, my home state, he's saying Tallarico. Yeah, we'll have to see if Tallarico can win. We'll have to see. I think Tallarico has the best opportunity. Everything is set up for Tallarico to win. If any Democrat could win, I think everything is set up right now for Tallarico to win. And the main reason that I'm saying that is because you have to look at our climate. What we're going through right now is, there's a lot going on. And not only the economy, but the war, all of that stuff that we're seeing right now, that is going to have an impact on the midterm elections. And you heard the president just a couple of days ago say that he doesn't, or what is it? Maybe that's a week ago, say that he's really not concerned with the American people when it comes to the struggle. His focus is Iran and not allowing Iran to have a nuclear weapon. The only problem with what he is saying is, the only problem with what President Trump is saying is you can say, I'm focused on not allowing Iran to have a nuclear weapon, but you also need to have some compassion with the American people and understand they're struggling. And so you do have to factor that into, your psyche when you're negotiating. That was the question. Like, what is your psyche? Are you thinking about the American people when you're negotiating? Or are you just thinking about Iran not having a nuclear weapon? I think you need to be focused on both. And then also when it comes to the situation in Iran and not allowing them to have a nuclear weapon, what is leading you to believe that they do? Or what is leading you to believe that they're advancing? And because when we went to war initially, the president said that in a couple weeks or whatever, they would have a nuclear weapon. What is getting you to that point? And if you sell things to the American people in the sense of you let them know, hey, this is the reason why you show receipts. This is the reason why we had to do what we're doing. Then you're going to have we're going to look at it and say, okay, you know what? We understand, but we haven't heard anything. We haven't been given any information as to the importance, I won't say the importance, but we haven't been given any information about why it was pertinent for us to go to war at the time that we went to war. And we've been in ceasefire for how long now? If that were the case where we were really concerned about nuclear weapons, why are we in a ceasefire right now? I know they're trying to negotiate things, but while you're taking this time to negotiate, you're allowing Iran to get back on their feet. And so, yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out. But as of right now, I just think it's kind of a mess. Let's see. Yeah, they're getting ready to call it there. And yeah, I'm surprised. I have two different news outlets on right now. They're talking about Tarek. But Decision Desk did call it, so we can safely say, this is Decision Desk here, that Tarek is winning. I mean, and we saw what happened from the very beginning, right? We were looking at this, and Tarek had the lead from the start. Looking at the different counties here, you see Walz is only winning in one of the counties, Johnson County here, and then all the other counties that have reported, it's all Tarek. So, yeah, it's this is kind of like last week when we were looking at the wow, what race was that? Damn, looking at so many different races, I forgot. It was Paxton Cornyn. As soon as the polls closed, Paxton was ahead and never lost it. All right. Okay. And in the chat, if you put a comment in and it gets deleted, it's like an auto delete. So I'm not deleting them, but if you put certain words in there, it will pick up a keyword, profanity, things like that, and it'll just delete it. So if you're not using profanity, it should go through. Congress District 23. I don't even know who is running there. Let's see. I'm not going to be able to pull that up right now. We'll wait until the polls start coming in there. Yeah, so we're waiting for the polls to close in California. That's going to be in a little while. And in Iowa, we have this race called. I don't know. I'm going to kind of look to see if there's some other races going on that are interesting. I didn't anticipate that Iowa would this primary would go this fast. But yeah, it's already been called. So we just have some time to talk. So give me some questions, comments, concerns, all that good stuff. Let's see. Yeah, so here's Ian saying, let's not forget the war was started without the consent of Congress. I fixed it, laugh out loud. Yeah, if you use profanity, it might. I see sometimes when it will retract a comment. So that's why I said if you use profanity, yes, it's probably going to block you out. I mean, some profanity you can use, but if you say some of the words that I have put in there as keys, then it will block those out. So yeah, so okay, when it comes to the war, we can go. The president can declare, he can go to another country and attack another country. There's a conflict, right? They call it a conflict, not a war. He has a certain amount of time to do that. But Congress does need to chime in at some point because Congress, they have the money, they carry the purse. And so because of that, Congress does need to weigh in. And that's, I think Republicans are really going to suffer in the midterm elections as a result of their inactivity. That's going to be, let me just put it this way. We're looking at the economy. It's bad. Okay. That is going to impact the midterm election. We're looking at the war in Iran. That's going to impact the midterm election. We're also looking at Congress not doing anything, not moving legislation. They moved a big, beautiful bill. That was the only thing that they moved. They did that through reconciliation, which means that they didn't even have to have Democrats any Democrats vote for this. It's just straight party line vote, simple majority. So they did that, but that was the only major piece of legislation that they passed in the last 2 years. And then when we have the situation in Iran and you have Congress not weighing in on this and saying, hey, we need more information. Why are we going to war? Explain this to us and all of that. We're not getting that from Congress. And that's going to be something that Congress did to hurt their chances of reelection, because you're going to have the American people are going to look at it and say, hey, who's like, when are you going to say something, like as far as Congress, when are you going to push back on the president? We did see a little bit of pushback, I think, last week when it comes to the new reconciliation bill and that funding that they were trying to, the $1.8 billion slush fund or whatever you want to call it, money that would go out to January 6ers. But that was the only pushback, if you want to call it, that I've seen in the last 2 years when it comes to Congress. Other than that, I haven't seen anything. And the only pushback was like, we're going to go home. We're going to go on recess and we're not going to, vote for the reconciliation bill, or at least move the reconciliation bill forward. So there is a new reconciliation bill that they're working on right now. And this is another thing, too, that is going to impact the midterm election, in my opinion. The fact that you have how many, usually in a midterm election, let's face it, in your midterm election, you're going to have whoever's in power. So right now, Republicans are in power. They have the presidency, they have the House, they have the Senate. Usually you would hear them talking about, what can we do for the American people right before the election? I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. It's right for them to think that way, but obviously they're thinking that. Now, we've heard last year, what did you hear? We heard, hey, we have Doge going into all of our records, getting all this waste, fraud, and abuse out, doing away with all of that. First, we never heard anything about what were the final results, what kind of waste, fraud, and abuse did you find, and how much, what were the numbers. I remember they had the little Doge ticker and they were going up, saying, oh, we saved the American people this amount of money. But a lot of what they were saving is they were just laying people off or forcing people into retirement. So they were saving money on that end because they didn't have to pay these people a salary. But we heard that Doge is going to find waste, fraud, and abuse. And then with that, with the waste, fraud, and abuse that we find, guess what? You're all going to get Doge checks. $5,000 per household. That's what we heard, right? What happened to that? What happened? It's gone. They're not talking about that anymore. That was the first thing. And then the president came out and said, okay, tariffs. We're going to tariff the world. Everybody's getting a tariff. It's like Oprah. You get a tariff, you get a tariff, you get a tariff. So everybody was getting tariffed. All the other countries they say the countries are getting tariffs, but realistically it was us that has to pay the tariff. So, if I have a company in the US, I buy a product, I have to pay a tariff on that. And so that's what was going on. And so the president was gung-ho about these tariffs and it was his favorite word, as he stated in the campaign and all that. So that meant that we had to pay more, because tariffs meant that the products that we might want to purchase, those products are going to cost more because the companies have to pay more. But what did we hear? We heard, don't worry, we had tariff rebates. Tariff rebates are going to be coming to the American people. And the president even said, at first it was going to be tariffs last year. Tariff rebates were coming last year. And they said, it'll be in 2026. What happened to it? I know the Supreme Court ruled that a lot of the tariffs that we were hearing about are, it's not, they can't do them, but there's still tariffs in place right now, temporarily, but we still have tariffs in place. There's still money being collected on tariffs right now. And so what happened? So what's interesting to me is at this time, you're hearing about a reconciliation bill that they're trying to pass. You got a reconciliation bill you're trying to pass. Are you putting in there tariff rebates? Are you putting in there Doge dividend checks? Like what happened to that? And so we'll have to see, because I remember one of the things that hurt Biden, and Biden didn't even mention. All Biden said, and you know, I follow Social Security very closely, and I've done, you know, I used to do a lot of videos on Social Security, and I'm going to continue doing some videos on Social Security. But one of the things that hurt Biden is that Biden said that he was I can't remember his exact words, but he liked the idea of a $200 increase to Social Security benefits, $200 per month. So you had different politicians. Bernie Sanders was one. John Larson was another one that said, look, the people receiving Social Security should get a boost to their Social Security, $200 more per month. And President Biden said that he liked that idea. Okay. And President Biden caught a lot of flack because that was never implemented, $200 increase to benefits. And Biden didn't come out and say, look, this is my plan. This is what we're going to do. I mean, you have President Trump right now saying tariff rebate. This is what we're going to do. We're going to provide, you know, $1,000 or $2,000 per individual as a result of tariffs. You know, we're going to pay the American people back is basically what he's saying, or what he was saying. Biden didn't even go that far. Biden just said that he thinks that sounds like a good plan to have a $200 increase to benefits. But nonetheless, I just think that's when we're looking at some of the different possibilities when it comes to the midterm election, I think you're going to have some real pushback from the American people when it comes to the promises that were made. These direct promises, direct money to the American people that they're not even talking about. It's not even going to happen. And it's crazy because you had the president talking about these tariff rebates, and then the Speaker of the House, Johnson, was saying, no, we can't do that. That was at that time, you know, when President Trump was talking about it. And so in a situation like this, Congress has to put forward legislation to allow for this stimulus. Okay. All right. Let's see. You are stressing she won't win. Who are we talking about here? California 23rd. You guys keep asking me about California 23rd. Okay. Let me see if I can see the problem with pulling this up is I have to move my screen. Let's see here. Let's move it. I'll move that, make that a little smaller there. And open this up. California Congressional 6. All right, I don't see 23rd on here. So is it California 23rd or 22nd? Let me know. This is 22nd here. And I don't know these candidates, so it's kind of pointless for me to look. Once the returns start coming in, then we can take a look. But right now, it's I'm not familiar with the candidates. So yeah, that's all. I'm not seeing 23rd. These are the districts that we have right here: 48, 45, 22, 11, 7. And you have a special election in District 1. Yeah, that's what they're showing us here. Yeah. And this special election that was for the congressman who passed away. Wrong place. Yeah, she's saying it says 23. Okay. You guys can let me know in the future, but I don't see it on here right now. So we can come back to that later if you find the district. All you need to do is put the candidate's name in and see where they're running. All right, so this race is over. What else do we have? So we knew what was going on with Henson winning here as a Republican. You see her number so far. And let's see, what other races do we have? I don't know why that popped up. California again. Iowa statewide. Governors. We see where that's going. That's just the primary here. Wow, this is a pretty close race. Yeah, this is pretty close. Really close. All right. Okay, JJ. Yeah, I don't know where. Why don't you put the candidate's name if you haven't done that already? Maybe we can look it up that way. Okay, here it is. Isa. Yeah, I don't see her name there. Her last name? Hodge? So 22, no. This thing is all over the place. All right, yeah, so find the district and I'll look it up, but it's not showing me on here now. Okay. Let's see. What else are we talking about here? Yeah, hit the like button. I never say that. And I have these little things too. Let's close this down. Got all my little bells and whistles. Subscribe to the channel. Hey, subscribe to the channel. Where is it? There it is. Subscribe. Yeah, I got all my little bells and whistles, but I never use them. Like the video. And then lower third. Let us know your thoughts in the chat. All right. We do have little bells and whistles that I can use, but I never use them because I always forget. All right. So let's talk. Let's chat some more. All right. So we're moving into, what time is it? California polls close in 1 hour. Ay, ay, ay. That's a long time. Yeah. We're going to be sitting here all night. Enjoying the polls coming in. Sean is saying that Barry Sanders. Wow. And Bernie Sanders is the best president we never had. Wow. All right. Yeah. All right. 1 hour till polls close. Yeah. Well, I don't know why they don't have that. They're saying that, yeah, it's confirmed that Hodges is running in the in District 20. Now, is she running for Congress? Is she running for a state assembly seat? Let me see here. Well, Hodge, California, Congress. All right, we're gonna look this up. Yeah, it does say that she's running. Yeah, I don't know, for whatever reason they're not showing that race. Who's she running against in the primary? Yeah, it does. So it does show Orange County Register. Yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out later. I don't have it on Decision Desk HQ. You guys saw when I pulled it up there, it wasn't showing. But this is just an article on her, and she is running. But yeah, we don't have that. Move this out. Yeah, this is all I have. I think I can search, right? California. But is that even showing? Let's see. That's Texas. At California. Here we go. Here we go. All right, here we go. No, that's not it. Does she have a does she have a different name? Because it's not showing up here. Let me know if this is the right one. It's California. What are we looking at? Victorville, Barstow. Okay. Yeah, San Bernardino County. Or is this an old, like, I don't know. This says Congressional District 30 or 23. Or this one. Yeah, I'm confused, guys. So when you guys have more information, just let me know. I'm pulling up stuff and it's just showing me this is 2024 performance, November 3rd, 2020. So this is the, does she running against anyone? That's the question that I would have. If she's running unopposed, maybe they just didn't add it because there's not going to be a race. And I saw her move the cursor. I don't see her. All right, guys. Ay. Yeah, and we'll wait for the polls to come in. When the polls come in, then we can pull this up because I'm spending time looking for something and it's just going to show us zeros anyway. So once we start getting the numbers coming in, then we can scroll through the different races that are going on. That's a better way to do it. So we still have an hour to get that information. All right, but if you guys see something, a link, you guys can post links too. So you see a link from another outlet that's showing you information, then we can click on that and take a look at it when the time comes. All right, we're gonna go back into CNN for a little bit, see what they're talking about. All right.
Start with what's happening in Iowa, because I think this is maybe the place where you can kind of encapsulate a lot of the big themes. This is a relatively rural state, but it's a pretty red state. And there are a lot of problems, economic problems, that they're sort of dissatisfied with the administration and the current status quo on. And now Democrats are looking at a Senate seat and a gubernatorial race, and they're thinking, hey, we might actually be able to compete here.
Yeah, that's right. And Donald Trump won this state by 13 points. Now he's underwater by 7 points. If I had $1 for every time John King said deep root red state, X state, and Democrats have a chance in winning it this cycle, you know, it would, I mean, Democrats at this point are doing very well in these states. This isn't the first time. We were just talking about Texas last week. And it is for the first time in a very long time that the Democrats have done a few things. One, they've put up great candidates in most of these states, in most of these districts. And as much as Chuck Schumer gets a lot of crap from his party, you have to give it to him that in some of these states, they are competitive because Democrats they're good candidates in these places. The economy is a huge factor no matter where you go. No matter how much Republicans try to distract and want to play culture wars, it is the economy that voters care about, and Donald Trump is not delivering on it. And when it comes to Iowa, that is the number one thing. That is why Donald Trump is.
I mean, first they got hit by tariffs, then they got hit by agricultural issues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, farmers have been hit so hard. First by tariffs that devastated the way that they could export their crops. Then by the skyrocketing price and scarcity of fertilizer, which has made it impossible for them to secure their crop yield for next year. So I think for farmers, the price of fuel in a place like Iowa, where the distances are so great, these are things that are disproportionately affecting places like Iowa. And I think it's been a good night so far for the Democratic establishment in that in TEC, they have a guy who is seen as more moderate, who has a history of being able to win in Republican-leaning districts. And so they've got themselves a good candidate.
Yeah, a good night for Chuck Schumer and the establishment, a not so good night for the progressive left.
Yeah,
So far.
Yeah, so far. But,
In Iowa specifically, is what I mean.
but look, I
Yeah.
mean, Donald Trump has basically been stomping on the people of Iowa, as I just said. Why can't they get the fertilizer? Because the Iran war has made it impossible for farmers to be able to fertilize their crops around the world, including in Iowa. You got a state that was there for Donald Trump, was there for him 3 times in a row, and is getting just stomped in the face by this president. And so now the Democrats have TEC. His personal story as a Paralympian, this guy wheels himself up to people's houses, throws the wheelchair up the stairs, crawls up the stairs to knock on the door. I don't want to run against somebody who's got that kind of heart. And that's who, give Chuck Schumer his due tonight. That's who Chuck Schumer picked, and that's who won tonight.
I got to give y'all credit. You guys have come up with a really compelling story about a state that's 14 points Republican. If I had tried to sell you this story about Oregon in a good Republican year or a neutral year, you'd laugh me off the set.
Maybe so.
And
but
Iowa and Oregon are about comparable on either side of the spectrum.
that's how bad you guys are. That's how bad off you are.
Brad,
That's how bad off you are.
Brad,
Forced to spend
really,
money.
I mean,
It's a state that was 14
hold on, but
points
on truth
Republicans,
serum,
that's not where it is right now.
Brad, the Republicans are talking about needing to defend
That's right.
these seats. So that's not spin. That's
we have,
that's real.
We have 3
right?
competitive House seats in Iowa, and so we're going to work hard for those. Chuck Schumer, by the way, give him credit. He spent $10 million to get the least crazy person nominated tonight in Iowa because left to their own devices, Democrat primary voters right now, as they're proving in Maine with Graham Plattner, would pick the absolute.
All right. So just wanted to hear a little bit what they were talking about. Okay, so yeah, and Art has a good point here. And one of the things that's interesting to me is in Iowa and in Ohio and in some of these other states, Kentucky, states where farming is big. Farmers are struggling right now. You have farmers out there saying that they're struggling. Okay, so it's not just us saying farmers are struggling. They're coming out. They're saying, "Hey, we need, we need help, and we need to be able to sell our soybeans. We need to, all this stuff that they're saying." But the vast majority of Republicans voted for a vast majority of farmers voted for the Republican ticket in 2024, even though they were hearing, because President Trump didn't make any, he didn't try to hide the fact that he wanted to tariff other countries. That was his favorite word. Like, he wanted tariffs. And so you have these farmers, I think it's like 70% of farmers, somewhere around that number, farmers voted for President Trump. And even after all of this, with the farmers are struggling, even after all of that, some farmers gone bankrupt, all of that, we still have farmers that support President Trump. And some of them have said this when they're being interviewed. They talk about how bad things are, And I just hope, that they're saying, I just hope President Trump, does this and helps us with this and helps us with that. I still support President Trump. And that's that factor. And I talked about this today in the AI model that we're working on. That's what we can't, AI can't, you can't factor that in. You can't factor in people's emotions and how they, in some situations, how they're just not rational. How they can be in a bad situation and they can point to the current administration as a, as the people who are causing them to be in the situation that they're in, and still say, but you know what? I'm still going to support them. That's something you can't factor in when you're doing these different models. And I mean, you just can't. You can look at the results through polling, through the prediction markets and all of that, but you can't really factor that into a model because it just, in any other scenario, it just wouldn't make sense. I mean, people, you talk to someone and they're saying, yeah, I'm struggling, and yeah, I might have to go bankrupt. And would you vote for the same person all over again? Yeah, I'd vote for the same person. You can't, there's nothing that I can do with that. So the only thing that I can do is just really change the model in a way to give us like a range of possibilities, because in Iowa, people are struggling. Our farmers are struggling. And it's not actually, people are struggling. I'll go back to, it's not just farmers, because if farmers are struggling, that community is struggling, because farming is bringing, business to that community as well. And if farmers aren't hiring people to work, if farmers, so farmers aren't hiring people to work, or because the farmer is struggling, and they're not growing crops, that means the people that live in that area, they can't buy those crops that they're not, because they're not growing them. There are less people that are working in that area, which means that the businesses, the local businesses, grocery stores, hospitals, everything that's in that area, dry cleaners, all those places are going to suffer as a result of less people working there. And it just has that domino effect. And so, yeah, it's a bad, it's one of those things that's, it's really, I don't know. We're in a point now where it doesn't even really matter how bad, for some people. Okay, for some, we all have our breaking point, but for some people, it doesn't even matter how bad things get, because they're still going to say, you know what? I'm gonna, and then they'll say, well, if, because this is what you'll hear, and this is both sides. Okay, don't think the reason I'm talking about Republicans right now is because you have Republicans controlling the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Both sides do this, but right now we're looking at this. We're looking at Republicans doing this, but there's some Republicans that just, no matter how bad things get, they're still going to support the Republican ticket. And then they're going to say, well, you know what? If Kamala Harris was president, it would be much worse. We have no information. You have no information to have that conclusion. So just looking at our situation now, things are good. And I think most people agree that things aren't good. But you're still going to have people that are going to support something that's not working. All right. All right. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me. That's Bush. You can't be fooled twice. I never forget that. That was funny. Oh. All right, guys. So any questions? Any other races that are going on right now? So I guess Iowa, you guys want to look at any of those races, we can look at those as we wait for the polls to come in California. I mainly wanted to I know there are other states that things are going on. We can pull up some other states too, but I really wanted to focus on California and Iowa. So we already have our answer in Iowa. So that race is set up, and I just want to see what happens in California because, hey, I'm from California, so I want to know what we're looking at, who we're looking at for governor. And I think that's going to be a real I think so. And just talk a little bit about California. Let's talk about California for a second. So when it comes to California, if it's Becerra, if Becerra wins, or is a top two, Becerra wants Hilton to be the number two, or even number one. So you have Hilton and Becerra. Becerra wants to be in the top two, obviously. Steyer wants to be in the top two, obviously, but they want to run against Hilton because Hilton's a Republican, and they know that if they run against Hilton, they're pretty much the shoe-in to win. What Becerra doesn't want, and what Steyer doesn't want, is it to be Steyer versus Becerra. Because if that's the case, that's going to be a real tough race for both. And Steyer has the money. I think he spent over $200 million already in this campaign. $200 million that he spent already. And I believe it's his own money. I think that's what they're saying. It's his own money. So it'd be a very pricey race. And Becerra is going to have to get money, fundraise to make up that difference if it's Becerra against Steyer. Okay. Yeah. So anything else going on? I still have this race on. I don't need to look at the governors, but that's the only thing to look at. Okay. So, all right. All right, so if you guys can do me a favor, hit the like button so we can bring some more people in the room. And as we move forward, if you guys are new and if you just come in and you haven't let me know where you're watching, if you haven't posted where you're watching from, let me know where you're watching from. And then if you have any questions, post it in the chat, and we'll talk about it. We see Debbie coming in from Alabama. Thank you for being here, Debbie. All right. So now that we know Iowa, the reason why, so I want to go over a few pathways when it comes to the Senate. And I talk about this on the channel a lot. So if you guys are watching my videos, and we've gone over this, but these are scenarios, and you guys can let me know the scenarios that you think we could see in the Senate. Right now, the House, go back to the House for 1 second. The House is likely that Democrats will win back control of the House. Okay. That is what we're seeing right now. When it comes to the Senate, it's going to be hard for Democrats to win the Senate. Okay, so the reason why it's going to be hard for Democrats to win the Senate is because the pathway is very narrow for Democrats. They have to do everything right, and so that is why when we're looking at the prediction markets and we're looking at polling, is showing us that Republicans still do have an advantage. And they do. They do have an advantage in the Senate. But if we were to see a situation where Democrats take back control of the Senate, we would be looking at a scenario something like this. Okay, so if Democrats right now are at 47, Democrats and independents at 47, and Republicans are at 53. Democrats, the first thing that Democrats need to do, they have a couple of states, or 3 states, that are pretty close in the polling. Okay. These are excuse me. These are states that Democrats have to defend. If they cannot win these states or defend these states, then they're really going to have a rough road. So one of those states is Georgia. I think Ossoff, and we just saw Ossoff in a speech I think it was yesterday. Ossoff is doing pretty good. Okay, so in the polling, he's showing that he has a lead, and so he's doing pretty good. So that's the first state they need to defend. The next state, Michigan. Okay, now it's an open seat. We'll have to see how that primary plays out. But Democrats need to defend Michigan. And then we move to New Hampshire. That race is pretty much going to be, well, we know right now it's most likely going to be between Pappas and Sununu. Those are the two. So Pappas Democrat, Sununu Republican. They're the top 2 right now. They're the favorites to win the primaries. So Democrats have to defend those 3. And they need to net 4 seats, 4 states they need to win. And so one of those states that we're thinking, I think the best flip for Democrats that's on the board right now is going to be in North Carolina. So if they win North Carolina, that's one. I think their next best opportunity, and I still think this is their next best opportunity, even with Plattner, with the little scandals and stuff that's going on with him, I still think that Plattner has a real shot at winning in Maine. So if they can win Maine, that gives them 2 there. And then we move to Alaska. I think Peltola, I think Alaska's going to be the sleeper. I think Peltola has a real shot at winning. And I think if we see polling, this consistent polling, stay the way it is up until Election Day, then we will probably see Peltola win in Alaska. And so that's 3. So that brings our total right now. Democrats and Independents at 50, Republicans at 50. The tie goes to the vice president. The vice president's a Republican, so Republicans would maintain control of the Senate. And so now we're looking at this second tier of Texas, Iowa, Ohio. Democrats need to win one of those states. And when we're looking at the breakdown here, I used to say Iowa was the next best opportunity, but now I think it's a tie between Iowa and Texas, realistically. I think now that we know it's Paxton, and Paxton's going to be challenging Tallarico, I think Tallarico has what it takes to win in Texas. I do. We have to see how Texas voters feel about that, but I think if Democrats can rally in Texas, get people energized to go out and vote for Tallarico, I think Tallarico has the shot to win. Paxton, on the other hand, I think you're going to have some voters, Republicans, Independents, maybe even Democrats, that look at Paxton and say, I'm just not going to vote. I'm not going to vote for a Democrat, but I'm just not going to show up. I'm not enthused about Paxton. He doesn't have, he doesn't have my confidence. And so we could see just low voter turnout on the Republican side and high voter turnout on the Democrat side. And Democrats have that. You had the Beto O'Rourke situation where Democrats were thinking, oh, this is it. We're going to be able to win in Texas. And it didn't happen. But they still have that bad taste in their mouth, Democrats and Independents, and maybe some Republicans that want a Democratic senator. And so I think this opportunity, it's kind of, everything is set up, or being set up, a perfect setup for Tallarico to win, or for a Democrat to win, just looking at our current climate. And so I would say Texas and Iowa, or Texas and Ohio, not Iowa. Texas and Ohio are pretty much on the same level when it comes to opportunity to win. Ohio situation where you have Sherrod Brown. He lost in 2024, but he lost during that, I'm not going to call it a red wave, but he lost when Trump won. Trump won on the, for president, and Trump was able to bring word I'm looking for. People were able to ride his coattails. Moreno was able to ride his coattails because of the popularity of President Trump. And we had to face it. President Trump was popular in 2024. And so now that President Trump is not on the ballot, in the sense of people aren't going to vote for President Trump, I think it's going to be much harder for Husted to win. And remember, Husted was appointed to the position. So Husted has never won a Senate seat before. And so that's going to be interesting in itself, how that plays out. So we'll have to see. So Iowa governor, so they're just calling stuff right now. Projected winner, Rob Sands for the Democrats. I got a big TV in front of me. You might see some flickering and flashing, and that's the TV. They're just showing the projected winners. So when it comes to Texas and Iowa, or Texas and Ohio, it could be either one, but they need to win at least one out of those last three that I went over. And then when we look at states like Nebraska, there's Osborne is running as an independent. That could change the numbers as well, because we could look at a scenario where, let's just say, Democrats win 3, and then let me change that back. I didn't want to do that. And then in Nebraska, well, we can't put it at blue. Let's see, I have that other one. Let me change this. Okay. I was trying to find that. So if we were looking at a situation, let's go over this again. We have Democrats winning there, and here. So Democrats, let's say Democrats are at 50 with this, and then we have these 3 states here. But we have an independent win in Nebraska. And then we have Republicans winning here, here, and here. Okay, so let's say we have this scenario. This is what we're looking at. So we have Democrats and independents at 50, Republicans at 49, and then we have one true independent that is decided not to caucus with either Democrats or Republicans. Let's say that is the scenario. Democrats would still have control of the Senate at this point, because Democrats have the majority. They have 50. Democrats and independents, or the independents that caucus with Democrats. Republicans would be at 49. So you can see how, if Osborne can win in Nebraska, Democrats, they don't need to win. They don't need to net 4 seats. If they net 3 and Osborne wins in Nebraska, then Democrats would still have control. Now, this is a real tight margin. This is not something that would be Democrats don't want to be in a situation where it's this close. And they definitely don't want to be in a situation where you have an independent that has indicated that they're not going to caucus with Democrats or Republicans. Because what happens if Osborne says, you know what? Republicans have been real nice to me. I'm going to go ahead and caucus with the Republicans. And so if Osborne decides to do that, and understand that there's going to be a lot of concessions, if we look at a scenario like this, you're going to have Democrats and Republicans giving Osborne whatever he wants. And the reason why they're doing that is because they want him on their side. But if he decides, you know what, I'm not budging, I'm going to be a straight independent, then Democrats would have control. But at a moment's notice, Osborne can get upset with Democrats for something and say, you know what, I'm going to caucus with the Republicans. If we see that, then now we're at 50-50 again. If we're at 50-50 again, then guess what? Vice President comes in and breaks the tie. Are they showing? Oh, there's Eric is speaking. I wanted to go over to him. Let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to pull him up real quick. Can I search? Yeah. MS. Okay.
That is driving up gas prices here at home. Our rural communities are disappearing. Hospitals and schools are closing here. Our public schools are falling behind. Iowa is now nearly dead last for economic growth, personal income growth, OBGYNs, mental health providers. We have closed 250 more healthcare clinics than we've opened in the last 15 years. We have a cancer crisis, a water quality crisis. This is not the Iowa that I grew up in. This is not the state that we all love. But I am feeling hope here in Iowa for the first time in a very long time. And this is because Iowans know that we need change. The status quo is not working. We need a fighter for the people, not for the billionaires, large corporations, and political donors. And this is our chance to change this state. My story is truly the American dream. In no other country on earth could someone born into a working class family from Council Bluffs, Iowa, who went to the Goodwill, shared clothes, had the wrong color lunch ticket, who was born with my disability of spina bifida due to my father's exposure to Agent Orange in Vietnam, who had 21 surgeries before the age of 12, be able to represent the United States in 4 Paralympic Games and bring home 2 gold medals and represent their community in the legislature. Only in America is that possible. And I am running for the United States Senate to protect that American dream for future generations. I got into politics just 4 years ago because while working in healthcare, I saw firsthand how the privatization of Medicaid was leading to a 1,000% increase in denials and delays for people with conditions like muscular dystrophy and Lou Gehrig's disease. It was fundamentally wrong, and I decided to do something about it. So I ran in red Western Iowa to represent my hometown in the Iowa legislature. I wanted to be a voice for the voiceless, for the Iowans who cannot afford a lobbyist. I won that first race by dragging my wheelchair upstairs every single day to talk to voters, regardless of party next to their name. Neighbor by neighbor, Iowan by Iowan, I won them over. I won that first race by just 6 votes. So never doubt that your vote matters. It does, and it can be all of the difference. I won that race because there's more that unites us than divided us. They trusted I knew what they were going through because I had lived it myself. I've had to fight my whole life, and this is what is needed in DC. People who have gone through real struggle, who know what it's like to not have enough, who know what a gallon of gas costs, who have had to put groceries on a credit card. We have enough millionaires in DC looking out for billionaires. We need real people in Washington who have felt the consequences of a broken system, because when you have gone through real struggle, you will have a different level of empathy and a different level of fight. And this is what we need in DC, fighters for the people, and that is what I will be in the United States Senate. Not someone like Ashley Hinton, who has voted to take health care away from 110,000 Iowans just to give tax breaks to billionaires. She voted to make health care more expensive, so 119,000 Iowans saw their health care premiums double and even triple. She backed cuts to veterans' health care. She voted 4 times in favor of the tariffs that have decimated our farmers. She supported raising the age for Social Security. She even sponsored a total abortion ban, even as 93% of Iowans say it goes too far. Ashley Hinton is a multimillionaire who has increased her wealth by up to 10 times since she got to Congress and refused to support a ban on members of Congress and their families from owning and trading stock. She has taken over $3.6 million in corporate PAC money. She does not represent Iowa and does not represent our values. And tonight, Iowa, we have had enough. So my promise to you, I am going to the United States Senate to fight for a livable wage, to drive private equity out of housing and healthcare, to fight for affordable and accessible healthcare and prescription drugs for all Americans, because I believe that healthcare is a human right. To make it so doctors decide care, not insurance companies. So people like my sister are never told again, sorry, you can't get a PET scan, you don't have enough cancer yet. To fight for women's reproductive freedom. To fight for our public schools, because I believe public money belongs in public schools. To address the cancer crisis that we're having in this state, the water quality crisis that we have in this state, because every single Iowan deserves drinkable water, and to have billionaires pay their fair share. To fight for campaign finance reform and transparency, to fight to get dark money out of politics, because we can have oligarchy or we can have democracy, but we cannot have both, and enough is enough.
That is Josh Turek. He is the Democratic nominee for Senate in the great state of Iowa, giving his victory speech, having dispatched
Why would they cut him
Zach
off?
Walz in what was a very hard-fought.
I don't know why. There's nothing going on right now. There's no other stories or anything. I don't know why they would cut off his speech. It doesn't make sense to me. Not like they're projecting anything. Nothing's happening. That is just weird. But anyway, let's pull this back up. And you see, I mean, we're looking at the vote count here. And Tarek completely dominated this race. I mean, you see all this green here. This is all Tarek. These are all the counties that he's winning. And you have Walz winning one county, two counties. Just slightly ahead there, but I mean, you see the 95% reporting, but there's very, 300, 400 people voted. So yeah. So this is, Tarek did really well here. And I didn't have very much information on either candidate, so I didn't really know how this was going to go. But you see, he really, really did well. So now it's on to the general. Okay, so let's get back to this real quick, and we have 19 minutes before polls close in California. So we're going to start seeing those numbers come in. But if we are looking at this situation here, where just getting back to where we were. So if you had the independent in there, you had Osborne in there, you had Democrats and independents at 50, Republicans at 49. You have one independent that says, you know what, I'm not caucusing with either Democrats or Republicans. Democrats would still have the majority because they have the simple majority. And so they would be able to control Congress, but when it control the Senate. But when it comes to votes, that's where it gets tricky, right? Because Osborne can say, yeah, you know what, I don't agree with what Democrats want to do, so I'm not going to vote for whatever this bill is. And so if they don't vote for the bill, or if Osborne doesn't vote for that bill, then, or votes, I shouldn't say doesn't. Let's say Osborne votes with the Republicans on a bill. If that's the case, then now it's a 50-50. So if we're looking at a situation where Osborne says, you know what, this bill, I want to vote with Republicans. So you have 50-50 again, Vice President comes in and breaks the tie. So it doesn't, the bill is passed by that tiebreaker. And then when it comes to appointees and all of that, it's the same thing. So let's say President Trump decides, I want to nominate Bugs Bunny to be the next whatever. If that's the case, then Osborne would have a lot of power because Osborne can decide if that person moves forward or if, depending on who he votes with. So Osborne would have a lot of power in that situation. So Democrats don't want that. What Democrats want is they want to be able to net at least 4 seats. And then when they net 4 seats, now you're looking at the Fetterman effect because you don't know how Fetterman's going to vote. And so that could also be a situation. Fetterman's a Democrat, if you guys don't know, but he does, the majority of his votes, he votes with Democrats, but he does vote with Republicans on occasion. So you could have some serious legislation that you're trying to get through, a serious person that's being appointed to a position, and Fetterman can say, I'm going to vote with Republicans. If that's the case, he votes with Republicans. If Democrats we're in a situation where, let's say, Ohio goes to Democrats. So now you have Democrats and independents at 51. You have Republicans at 49. But you have a bill that's trying to get through Congress. Fetterman says, you know what? I don't really like what you guys are doing, the Democrats, so I'm going to go ahead and vote with Republicans. Well, if Fetterman votes with Republicans, then guess what? Now we're at 50-50 again. Vice President comes in and breaks that tie. So that's where Democrats, they want to be able to at least net 4, because if they can net the 4 seats, if they can win in North Carolina, they can win in Maine, they can win in Ohio, they can win in Alaska. Now that gives them the majority, but they still have to worry about Fetterman. And so some experts are saying Democrats need to really net 5 seats. If they can net 5 seats, then they will be able to they have a little bit of a cushion in case Fetterman decides that he wants to vote with Republicans on a certain issue. And so when we're looking at a pathway, is there a pathway for Democrats to get to 52? There is a pathway. And one race that they can win is if they win in Texas, or if they win in Iowa, or if they win both. So if they win in Texas, that gives them 52. If they win in Iowa and they don't win in Texas, then that gives them 52. And so when we're looking at this, that's why we're looking at different pathways. Who has how can Democrats really take back control of the Senate and do something with that control that they have? And so they need to run up. They need to run up the numbers, and it's not going to be easy. It really isn't, because some of these states are going to be a real hard fight. Ohio is going to be a really hard fight for Democrats. Texas is going to be a really hard fight. Alaska could be, but right now it looks like Democrats have a tilt for Democrats right now, just based on the polling in Alaska. North Carolina, I think that Democrats will be able to win North Carolina, and I still think that they'll be able to win in Maine. But when it comes to Alaska, it's going to be a struggle. Texas is going to be a struggle. Ohio is going to be a struggle. I still don't know what's going on in Iowa. But right now, I would say Iowa is leaning for Republicans. So that's the map, the Senate map that we're looking at. Okay. What are you guys saying here? TEC for president. Wow. Okay. I'd support Bugs Bunny. You know what? I think a lot of people would support Bugs Bunny right now. Let's see. All right. And primary Fetterman. So Fetterman is running for re-election in 2028. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Because look, I don't know what realistically, I think if Fetterman wants to continue to be a Democrat, his only real option at this point is, he has a few different options. One of the options that he has, I'm not going to say he only has one, because he can run if he wants, but running on the Democratic ticket is going to be very hard. He's probably going to get primaried because even though he does in most, it's like Cornyn, right? Even though Fetterman in most situations votes with Democrats, he's had these situations where he's voted with Republicans, and that's all Democrats need to hear. Oh, you voted with Republicans? I'm talking about his constituents. You voted with Republicans, and that's what he's being known for. That's what he's being praised on the Republican side. They're praising him for voting for legislation that they're trying to get through. So it's going to be very hard for Fetterman not to get primaried in 2028. And so his options are, he's just not going to run. He does his 6 years. He's done. He doesn't run again. That's one option. Another option is he runs as an independent. He can do that. Another option is he can run as a Republican. But I don't think he'll run as a Republican. If he decided to switch parties, this is another thing that people have been talking about. I don't think that's realistic for Fetterman to switch parties. If he switches parties, he's going to be more disliked by Republicans than he's being disliked by Democrats now. So if he doesn't care about that, then that's fine. But his view, or his a lot of his views are views that Democrats have. Okay, so just on different issues. So if he decided that he's going to switch parties and become a Republican, the problem that he's going to run into is, as soon as he goes against the president on whatever legislation it is, then he's going to be the outcast, the rhino or whatever. And so he's not going to be popular amongst Republicans. The reason why he's popular amongst Republicans now is because he's a Democrat. If he becomes a Republican, they're going to expect him to vote with Republicans on every issue. The minute that he decides not to, he's going to lose their support. So, so his options, I think realistically, he's probably thinking his best option would probably be just to say, hey, you know what? It was a good 6 years. I'm going to go do something else. Maybe there'll be another spot that he can look forward to running, or maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he'll get promised I don't know. I was going to say get promised a job somewhere. Maybe that will get him to not run. But yeah, that's where it is with Fetterman. But as I was stating, went off on a little tangent here, but as I was stating, when it comes to Democrats taking back control of the Senate, it's going to be very hard. It's going to be a big challenge, because if you just look at this, looking at this map the way it is, let's say Democrats win in Ohio, they have to do everything perfect in order to get there. They have to defend all their seats that are close right now. They have to run the table on some of these states and flip at least 4 states that are Republican states right now. All right, the polls are going to be closing in 8 minutes, so we're going to go over there live as soon as the polls close. There's a mayoral race too that's pretty interesting. So you have Pratt is the current mayor. Bass is the current mayor. Pratt is the outsider, celebrity reality star. It's just so crazy. I have a real, let me just say this. I have a real problem with just anyone thinking that they can run for office. Well, I shouldn't say that. Anyone can run for office, but I have an issue with celebrities thinking, you know what, I'm going to run for office and I have no experience, and I really don't have any policy. You know, if you are a celebrity and you want to run for office and you don't have any plans, then you shouldn't be running for office. Like, you should, if you want to run for, I mean, it's a job. See, this is a thing. It's a job interview. And if you go, if I want a job, and I go for a job interview, I need to have something. I need to have either experience, or I need to have a real plan moving forward. Like, how do I think, how can I be an asset to a company? I need to be able to sell myself to the American people, or to the job, if it's a job. But in situations where we just have celebrities that come in and they really don't have, and I've listened to Pratt talk. Pratt wants to be the governor. Wants to be the mayor of Los Angeles. Bring forward a platform, something that you want to do, the ways to solve problems. Don't just see, this is where we've come, and even before President Trump, you had celebrities just come out and want to run for office without really putting forward any real plan, just saying, no, you know what? What we're seeing, the trend right now, is you have celebrities that come in and say, I'm going to run for office, and they just say, this is bad. We have homeless people here. We have this here. We had fire, and I'm talking about in California. We had these fires. They were terrible. We had this. We had that. What are you going to do about it? Well, we're going to, we'll figure it out as we go, or we'll work things out, or they'll put something out there that's just not even realistic, not even something that they have control over. And that is a huge problem. And it's a huge problem because they're grifting. That's all they're doing. They take a job and they have no plan on how to make things better, but they just like the fact that they're now the mayor, or they're now, the president, or what have you. And nothing gets done. Now, even when you have a career politician, there are certain situations where you have a career politician in there, they're just as bad as a celebrity would be. But it's just, at least if I have someone who's had experience as a politician before in a different position, or maybe even in that same position, they at least know more or less how to navigate the system. And I think that's important. If you don't even have that, if you don't even know where the bathrooms are and all that kind of stuff, I know I'm being silly, but if you don't even know those things, just think about you when you first started a job. It probably took you a good month, 2 months to just get comfortable in that job, right? Let alone learning what you need to learn. But it takes a little while to know where the bathroom is, and know, where the break room is, and all of that stuff. Okay, especially if it's a big building, get lost in there. I remember when I was working, and I would go from different office to office, just depending on the position that I held. And I went to one office, the largest office that we had. And it was a maze for me. Like, when I first started working there, I would get lost walking around. And it took me a while, because it was like it was an old, I want to say, Ward's. You guys remember that store, Ward's? It was an old department store, and they converted it into, I worked for the probation department, so they converted it into a probation department. It's like Ward's or Woolworths or what is one of those old stores. And it had a basement, and most of our offices were down in the basement, and then you had the top floor. But man, I'm telling you, I would get lost walking around there sometimes because for me, it was big, considering that I worked in a smaller office before. It was easy. You just walk around in a square and you walk the whole office. But here you had different areas. And so, but I'm getting off on a tangent, but I'm saying all that to say it takes some time to learn a position. And if you're just coming from off the street and you have no experience and you just think, this would be a cool job to have, then it's going to take you a while to kind of get things going. Okay. So we're almost there. Polls are getting ready to close. They're showing commercials on CNN, so we'll wait until that stops. Looks like 2 minutes before polls close. So we're going to watch California numbers come in, and we'll see how this governor's race turns out. And we'll look at some of the other races, but I want to take a look at the governor's race right now to see where that's going. Oh, wow. Okay, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. It's less than 2 minutes. Minute and a half. Why I guess CNN is saying we'll do commercials up until 1 minute before. That's weird that they would do that. I don't know, man. CNN's doing some weird stuff. Okay, looks like they're coming on now. Oh. Yeah, so we're down to 58 seconds. Are we up? You know what? All right. Forty seconds. Hopefully I have this live. Here we go. All right.
Breaking tonight, CBS has fired 60 Minutes correspondent Scott Pelley and terminated his contract for cause. It comes after Pelley called out the network's leadership in a tense staff meeting. He said that they were unqualified for their jobs and accused the new editor-in-chief of trying to kill 60 Minutes. In the letter informing Pelley of his firing, the new executive producer called Pelley's outburst performative and an ambush. He said that Pelley had disparaged him with remarkable incivility and contempt, adding, "Your antipathy to the future of the show has come through loud and clear." You can head to CNN.com for more updates on that story. But thank you for watching Newsnight. Our special coverage continues right now.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Shoot. Oh, she just didn't say it because...
No time for amateurs. We don't need a TV reality show villain.
We don't want your experience anymore. You burned down my whole town with your experience, ma'am.
I heard he's a big MAGA person. He's doing well.
We are not going to let a billionaire or Trump's hand-picked candidate take over this state.
We've had the same people in charge for 16 years now.
I'm the person who's actually talking about how to change California and make it better for working people.
Californians can decide for themselves about my temperament.
I think there's a tsunami of votes coming from all the people that are done with politics as usual.
I am all about change. That's why I ran in the first place. We are going to continue making change.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of Laura Coates Live, Election Night in America. Alex Michelson is in LA with us for the next.
All right, while they do their little intros here, we'll look on the left side here. So nothing, we don't have anything showing yet. But they only have, yeah, see, show 58 more candidates. I told you, it's like 61 candidates. This is crazy. Let me click on here. Just want to show you how many candidates are running for governor in California. Remember, it's the jungle primary, so the top 2 vote getters will move forward. But look at this. These are all the candidates here. Is that crazy? I couldn't believe it when I looked at the ballot. Like, this is, I mean, you literally have to search to find your candidate. Just it's just crazy. But the one thing I will say, and I don't know, I've had experience voting in Nevada. I went to college. I went to UNLV, so I've had experience voting in Nevada. And in California is so smooth. People, you can say what you want to say about mail-in ballots or whatever. Everyone gets a ballot. Everyone gets a mail-in ballot in California. But I will say that it's, I mean, I don't have to, like, I can do the mail-in. That's one option. Or what I like to do is I like to, like, fill out my ballot and then just walk it in and then drop it in the box when I get, or drop it in the box on election day. That's what I like to do. But it just makes things so much easier. I don't have to wait in lines. I don't have to do any of that. I mean, I remember when I voted in Nevada, in Clark County in Las Vegas, I had to wait in line. You know, you got to do that whole thing. With a mail-in ballot, if I don't want to go to the polls, I don't have to go to the polls. I can mail it in. If you want to walk in, I don't know. I just like, it just feels right for me to do it on the same day. But yeah, you just walk in, drop it in there. They give you your little sticker and you're on your way. I like that. I don't know. That's, yeah, I know you have some people that don't like mail-in ballots. I think it's, for the voter, it's very convenient. And I think it's, you know, it's, we should want people to have every opportunity to vote, and we should make it an easy process. Now, I'm not saying that there should be fraud in voting or anything like that, because there shouldn't be, but we should make it easy for people to vote. I mean, you look at other countries, and I travel, okay, so I know what's going on in other countries when it comes to voting. When you're looking at these other countries, some numbers are coming in right now as we speak. You have Hilton has a slight lead there. But when you look at some of these other countries, they make it convenient for people to go vote. They have elections on the weekend. Colombia, I travel to Colombia a lot. I have a lot of friends in Colombia, and I love the country. And when I go to Colombia, they will have a dry weekend. They don't sell alcohol. They just had a, I guess it would be considered their primary, or like their, it wasn't really a primary because the top vote getter would have moved forward. You need a 50+1, but they didn't get the 50+1. So now they're going to have another race in late June. But they have a dry weekend. Can't buy alcohol on Saturday. Can't buy alcohol on Sunday. Sunday is election day. So election day is on the weekend. Makes it a lot easier for people to get to the polls because it's on a weekend. Everybody, you know, not everybody, but a lot of people are off. Whereas we got a Tuesday. We always have our elections on Tuesday. It's a work day. People have to vote before they go to work, or some people are allowed to leave early to go to vote, or you know, they might get the 4 hours. It just depends on where you work. But they make it easier for people to vote, and that's not just in Colombia. You have other countries that do the same thing, but in the U.S., it seems like we're trying to make it harder for people to vote. Okay, so we do have some numbers coming in now, so let's go ahead and take a look. I like looking at California because I know the map. Like a lot of these states I look at, I don't really know the map as far as the counties, and you know, I wouldn't say I'm an expert in California, but I do know a lot that's going on in California as far as the demographics in these different areas. But so far, we have Becerra at 17,119, so 28% there. This is what the Emerson, no, not quite what the Emerson poll looked like. It was a little reversed here. Hilton right now is in second place, and this is just getting started. We're not even at 1% reporting. So we still have the top two. Let's see what's going on with some of the others. So you have Bianco at 6,000 right now, Porter at 3,800, and then Mahon at 2,800. So we're getting there. We'll see what happens. We'll see how long it takes for them to call this. With all of these people in the race, I wouldn't. I was gonna say it would probably gonna take longer, but it might not actually. It might not if we have two candidates that just skyrocket. But I think now we have Hilton, Steyer, and Becerra. These three, they're gonna probably be neck and neck for a while. All right. So we'll come back to that. You have some people talking here. They're going to be focused on the mayoral race. I'll go over there as well, but that race is also going to be between three. You have Pratt, you have Bass, and then you have what's her name? Rahman. So you have those three, and they're only going to take the top two vote getters. So the jungle primary, I'll talk about it real quickly if you guys didn't know what's going on. We're just looking at the top two. The top two will move forward to the general election. So that's what we're looking at here. So it'll be Becerra Hilton, Becerra Steyer, or Hilton Becerra, Hilton Steyer, or I just said that again, Bianco. That's what we're going to be looking at, our Porter. So it's pretty much shaping up to be what we were thinking. But you see, Hilton really shot up there. He's at 32% right now. Wow, let's see what's going on here. Where's okay, so we're down in, was that San Diego? Orange County, okay. So Orange County, pretty conservative area. I worked in Orange County. But Orange County's been changing, but it is still pretty conservative. So you do have a lot of Republicans in Orange County. So that's where he's getting the bulk of his numbers. Look at that. I mean, he really shot up in Orange County. Then it's Becerra and then Steyer. So when we see counties like Los Angeles, that's probably going to favor Becerra. I would think Northern California is going to be where Steyer is going to be his strongest. We'll have to see how that plays out. So Napa, wine country there. They're right now voting for Hilton over other candidates. And we have Becerra winning right now, Monterey, Santa Clara. Wow, look at this. Hilton's winning in Fresno. That's interesting. I would think that Becerra would be doing better in Fresno County, but yeah, we're seeing right now. So yeah, I'm interested to see when Los Angeles comes in. We're gonna see that's gonna most likely really help Becerra. Even some of Ventura, Santa Barbara, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Yeah. Yeah, so it looks what? Half, 58% reporting in Orange County. So that's really giving Hilton his bump. But see, the thing is, Los Angeles and San Francisco, those are going to be the counties the areas that Becerra will probably do the best. And Steyer will do well in Northern California. Wow, look at these numbers coming in real fast. Bianco here up in Lesson County. Lassen. And Steyer. Okay. San Bernardino, Hilton is doing well in San Bernardino County. Hilton will probably do well in Riverside. Oh, actually, you know what? Bianco might do well in Riverside County because Bianco's a Riverside sheriff, so he might actually perform better than Hilton in Riverside. San Diego is going to be interesting. I don't know how that will play out. In it'll probably be between Becerra and you have some conservatives in San Diego too, so it might be Becerra and Hilton. All right, so I can Inhill. I just can't say that name. But Hilton there. This has just started. Not too many votes coming out of there. So Fresno, I'm really shocked at Fresno. I didn't know Fresno was as conservative as what we're seeing here. Hilton in Madera. All right, so we're seeing some numbers down here. Imperial County, that's probably going to benefit Becerra as well. That's right on the border here. Yeah, so we're seeing the bulk of the numbers that are coming in right now are coming from areas where Hilton would probably do better than Becerra, especially all this red that you're seeing here. But as we start looking at some of the coast here, more of the coast, then you're going to see Becerra's numbers really jump. So what are we seeing? What are we showing here? Oh, yeah. Let me condense this. This is too much. All right, we can hear what they're saying too. They're talking. Oh, they were talking. So Hilton at 29% and Becerra at 24%, Steyer at 17%. That's crazy. I mean, Steyer spent $200 million plus 200 million. I was gonna say muscle minerals. $200 million, more or less, and he's in third. That's crazy. That's a lot of money being spent by him. Yeah, so we'll see. What I'm thinking is going to happen right now. Yes, you have Hilton's up there, but once we see California or Los Angeles come in, that's going to be a huge push for Becerra. And then we still have some counties like Kern County that's probably going to go for Hilton. But yeah, we'll see. Tulare, Sacramento, that's another one that Becerra will probably do well in. Yeah, so we still have there's still some time. I don't know why Los Angeles they haven't shown anything yet. But and will we? Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, we'll just wait. I was gonna say. I think the way this is coming out, this it might not take that long for us to get the top two. Because I mean, look at how these numbers are coming in. And another thing about California too is you have a large number of people, since everyone gets a ballot, you have a large number of people who will go ahead and mail their ballots in or drop them off. You can drop them off before the election. So they've been sitting on these ballots for a while, and all they need to do is just run them through the machines. So yeah, that's something else. The reason why we're able to see these numbers come in as fast as we are seeing them come in. All right, so Hilton still has a lead, and not much has changed. I would be shocked if Bianco doesn't win Riverside. That would say a lot. If you're the sheriff of Riverside and you can't win Riverside, that's not good. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on Riverside here, seeing where that goes. And the reason I'm saying that is because if Bianco wins Riverside, then he's taking votes away from Hilton. right now we see Hilton and Becerra pretty much at the top two. So yeah, we'll see. What are you guys saying in the chat? All right. And Michelle is saying that Central Valley is very conservative. Yes, I would agree with you. And I'm interested to see with new district redistricting how that all plays out. For the congressional seats, the House seats. All right. We're just at a standstill here, waiting to see. So Becerra, where did Becerra? Okay, so you see the coast, and what we're going to see on this map is the coast is going to be pretty blue. That's just generally the way it is. I don't know, but yeah, the coast will be pretty blue, and then the inland here, this is where it is more conservative. Like the Central Valley here, and then as we even move down, San Bernardino County, Riverside County, even San Diego to some extent. So yeah, we'll see. But as I stated, I keep saying this. Here we go. We got some numbers coming in now. See, look at that. Wow, 238,000. So that puts Becerra in number one spot. See, Becerra now is at 656. Thousands at 27%. Hilton's now at 630. Yeah, that's what I was saying. When it comes to Los Angeles, so they dumped. Wow, 42% has been reporting now, and this is going to continue with Los Angeles. We're going to continue to see those numbers. But yeah, Becerra's taking the lead now, just with Los Angeles reporting. Yeah, so let's see. Move up a little bit here. So Hilton won this small area here. Del Norte. It's crazy. Swalwell is still on the. So, and a lot of these politicians that, you know, once you got past that cutoff, they're still on the ballot. And so Sonoma County, Becerra's winning in Sonoma. That's interesting there. Napa Lake. All right, I'm just looking at some of these smaller counties. Shasta. But yeah, so Swalwell is still on the ballot, which, I mean, you will have, and then San Francisco here, just zooming in. So this is another area where Steyer will do well as Becerra, and they just showed us, and I said, hey, look at that. Well, that's only 40% reporting, but Steyer right now, 30,000, Becerra at 24. So, and then Berkeley, this is another area where Becerra's doing well. Steyer will do well. San Mateo. So yeah, we have numbers coming in now, and they're, I mean, in Stockton as well. I think Stockton will. It's a little more inland, but I think Becerra will probably do well there. San Jose. And you know, when it comes to Becerra, what a crazy story, because Becerra 4 months ago. Yeah, right before Swalwell. So maybe 3 months ago. Becerra was at, he was at like 5%. 5%. And now he's, you know, I had the numbers. Let me pull that up just to show you how, like, things can change like in an instant. And that's probably why, just keeping my eye on this screen up here, they're not showing, what are they showing here? Their numbers are off. Yeah, their numbers are way off. Yeah, see these numbers here on the right side? Yeah, Hilton at 415. They're already up. I mean, Decision Desk already has 774,000. Wow, they're way off on the numbers. They just haven't updated they haven't gotten the updates yet. But I just want to show you this with Becerra, because this is just crazy when you just think that Becerra was this is Becerra here. This is Emerson polling here. This is the final poll before today. So I think they just put this out 2 days ago, or maybe it was yesterday. Look at Becerra. So this light color here, this is September of 2025, October, December. So you can see as it gets darker, it gets closer to today. But look at that, 5%, 5%, 4%, 4%, 3%. He didn't hit 10% until March. It's 10% in March, went from 3% to 10% in the same month, and then went to 19%, and now at 28%. That is just, I mean, that is remarkable how fast he rose. Yeah, that's crazy. And you see Hilton. I mean, Hilton, he pretty much up, down, and then, peaked out at 21% according to the Emerson polling. Bianco pretty much was not flatline, but didn't really show a big jump. And then Porter, that's the story of that's wow. She went from 16% when she first when they first started doing this polling, all the way down to 5%. That is just wow. Crazy. Okay, so getting back to our map, go ahead and do that. So getting back to our map, and look at Porter's. I'm just looking at the right of the screen here that they're showing. So Porter's at 50 or 5%. Bianco's at 10%. So Emerson is pretty close so far in what they were predicting. Here's a Karen Bass. Let's see what they're talking about.
First time we've seen this. This is Karen Bass, the incumbent mayor of Los Angeles, at 38.1%. Spencer Pratt, who is challenging her from her right, at 27.9%. Nithya Raman challenging her from her left, progressive city councilwoman, at 20.1%. That's at 39% reporting. Paul, first thought when you see that number?
So first off, that's out of, we know already, 900,000 ballots LA county-wide, about 400,000 ballots just in LA City. So there's a lot to go in this election. I think for Pratt to really have a chance, he probably needed a bigger number than this, because the early vote is going to advantage him as a Republican. Republicans were turning in their ballots quicker in this election in LA City, LA County, and statewide. A lot of Democrats were kind of clutching their ballots, waiting to figure out what was going to happen in the governor's race. And so the way it works in California elections, these ballots come in these waves, and that later wave is probably going to be much more Democratic. So right now, that race is going to be fluid. We'll see potentially big changes as different tranches of ballots come in.
And the way that race works is somebody gets 50%, they become the mayor. It certainly doesn't look like that's going to happen. So then the top two will face off in a runoff. It's unclear who those two will be. That early number certainly indicates that Mayor Bass is probably going to be one of those two. Question is, who's she going to be running against? That's a really interesting race. The governor's race, also a really interesting race. Senator, I know you've been following that closely. When you see this matchup, the Democrats that have emerged as sort of the leaders that we see in the numbers right now, which is Tom Steyer and Javier Becerra. How do you see the contrast between those two?
Well, frankly, I don't think you could have two more different candidates. You know, they're very opposite. One has got this certain calmness about him.
Becerra.
Really? You got it. That's good. You've noticed that. Yeah. Yes. And you know, and Steyer, who I've seen on your show, who I know both of them, who is, you know, just chomping at the bit to get ready to go. And I just want to give you a thought I have, and it could be right or wrong, but I've talked to so many people who are voting for both, some voting for Steyer, some voting for Becerra. And what I get back is this notion of the chaos we have every day on the national level with Trump, with ballroom.
Okay. So we do have some more counties. I just want to go down and take a look at some of these different counties. So as I suspected, Bianco is leading in Riverside County, but look at Becerra. Becerra actually is doing well in Riverside County. He's doing better than Hilton. Riverside tends to be conservative as well. But Bianco is the sheriff, so the sheriff of Riverside County. So I would imagine that he would be able to win in that county. And so Steyer is doing well in Santa Barbara. He's doing well in San Benito, but that's a very small number so far. And then up here, can't get that high. Let's see here. And then Mendocino. All right. That's interesting that Hilton is leading in Napa. I guess that's big farmland. I don't know. Maybe he spent a lot of time out there. Wine country. And Bianco did well in Layson. This is a small county here. Okay. So we are moving along. And Becerra is at 26. This is very close. 1 and 2 here. But Steyer is consistently behind. Consistently third here. Wow. Don, thank you for being here, man. Appreciate your membership support, your everything, man. Have a good night. Yeah, so waiting for December. Is San Francisco? We've reported a little bit. Let's see. Okay, what happened here? Getting slow. Okay. So Steyer, look, Steyer's doing well in San Francisco, which is anticipated. Becerra, Mehan is on the board. Yeah, but Becerra is doing really well in a lot of these different counties. So right now, if I were to look at this, I would say it's probably going to be between Hilton and Becerra. That's just looking at the information right now. We don't know. There's still a lot left. We're at what, 40% total? Yeah, 40% reporting total. I don't know what I just did here. Yeah, so we're at 40% reporting, and Becerra's at 8.6. So 860,000. So if I'm Becerra right now, I'm liking this because you have some of these inland counties, but they're very sparse. You don't have a lot of people living in these counties, so they're not really going to push the needle that much. But on the coast, as I stated, on the coast, you have a lot of blue here. You have blue in Los Angeles. Ventura, I would imagine Becerra will be able to outperform Hilton in this area as well. And it's just Steyer is not getting, he's winning some of these counties, but he's not winning them by a lot. And so he's not able to really catch up. So that's what's impacting him. So yeah, that's what we're looking at. I'm waiting for San Diego. I don't know why San Diego hasn't reported yet, but I would imagine San Diego's probably going to look. You'll probably see Becerra and Hilton there. Becerra will probably be number 1, and then Hilton number 2, and then maybe Steyer number 3. But yeah, Steyer just doesn't have an area where he's just completely dominating, where he can run up numbers. He's just not doing it. We're just not seeing that. But yeah, looking at the map, Hilton has pretty much, he's not going to get a huge boost from the rest of, and what I'm focused on here is this interior here. This is probably going to be red. This is probably going to be red. It's more conservative on this interior part of California, and on the coast it's more blue. San Luis Obispo, that's interesting. So Hilton is ahead there. Yeah, I'm gonna have to follow that. I think that might change just a little bit. That's what, 33% reporting. Ventura, yeah. All right, guys, in the chat, let me know what you guys think. Who do you think is going to win? Becerra, Hilton? Who are going to be the top 2? Let me know in the chat. So, Republicrat. He just posted something I just want to talk about. So, if James Tallarico wants to do well in office, if he wins, he'll have to get along with Representative Crockett and the rest of the Democrats. So Crockett she won't be a representative come January. She ran for Senate and she lost. So in the primary, so she forfeited her seat, her representative seat. She won't be there. But yeah, he'll have to get. Obviously, he's gonna have to get along with Democrats. But yeah, that the Crockett situation is not going to be. She's not going to be there. Okay. Yeah, and I agree. It seems to be playing out like the polls. Becerra, Hilton. That's what we're looking at here. And I don't know. Let me go, since they're talking about this. I want to see what they're saying here. Open. Here we go.
65 votes in a state as large as California, a 5,600 vote lead in this jungle primary right now. Steve Hilton, a Republican, former Fox News host, a favorite of President Trump in this race, running second at the moment at 26. So 26.2 to 26. Again, 5,665 votes separating them at the moment. Tom Steyer in third at the moment at 20%. I'm just going to duck down to the later candidates. Then you have a big drop to 11% for Chad Bianco, the other Republican we thought who could potentially be up top. So essentially right now, unless something changes dramatically, you're looking at a Becerra, Hilton, Steyer race, with the question being, as the rest of this vote comes in, they're essentially tied, right? There's a little bit of a difference there. Can Steyer somehow leapfrog his way up? The top 2 will make it to the runoff, and there's a big debate in California, I know the panel could talk about this, is do you want a Democrat versus a Republican? You think it's a blue state, so you think that Democrat would win? Or do you want to guarantee a Democrat in the California governor's mansion by having 2 Democrats? That's logical, right? The Democrats would hold it if you're a Democrat. However, that means a bloody, divisive race between Democrats from here to November. So this is a big conversation and debate in California. We don't know where we are yet. We just know that this is that is fascinatingly competitive on top. But I want to say this. I'm just going to come down to Los Angeles. Just got the first votes in Los Angeles. Give me one more second to see if more comes in as you walk through here. About half, they say there. That's at 22%, 29 to 22. 23, you see the split of the Democratic vote in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a very Democratic city, but you do see a pretty sizable split here. And if you move down, let's just see, I want to come down here. Oops, got to come over here to move this. Yeah, see if the other Democratic candidates, not that much, trying to see what other Democratic candidates are getting for votes down there. Sorry, California, I just made you go away. That happens sometimes. Just trying to look at some of the Democratic areas and see where the vote is. Come up here to the Sacramento area. Again, Mr. Hilton, there are Republicans in California. It's been a long time since we've been talking about Republicans in California. But at the moment, 38% of the vote in, 58 votes. Mr. Hilton is now pulled ahead as we're having this conversation. So Steve Hilton ahead by 58 votes. Again, 26% to 26%. Steyer at 20% if you round that up. We've got some counting to do, Laura, before we figure out, do we even know tonight definitively who the top 2 are? We'll see.
It's also fluid. That's why we're watching you so closely. Yeah. I mean, take me east, though, because the GOP primary for governor in Iowa, that hasn't yet been called. But what can you tell us so far?
In a word, fascinating. This is a state that hasn't had a Democratic governor since 2011. Chet Culver left office. Democrats think they have a shot because their candidate is the state auditor. He's already been elected statewide. Randy Feenstra is a congressman from this area of the state right here. He's running second right now to farmer, businessman Zach Lane. Noteworthy anyway, but noteworthy because the President of the United States, Donald Trump, who's had a pretty good record in the last week to 2 weeks to month or two in Republican primaries right now. Maybe it helped Randy Feenstra, but at the moment it hasn't helped him enough. Think about 98% of the vote counted, but again, 1,776 vote lead for Zach Lane in the Iowa Republican governor's primary. So what are they doing right now, Laura? You know this part better than I do. They're meeting with the lawyers and the data people. And the data people. They're trying to figure out what's out. See, you see this gray county down here. It's a very small rural county. But we have no votes from down there. And so that they have people who are just checking in with the Secretary of State's office. Polk County is Des Moines, 95%. But what's out, right? What's out? And can you tell me what precinct is out maybe? How many mail-in ballots are there? Were there provisional ballots today when people showed up? Maybe at the wrong polling place, or maybe they thought they cast an earlier ballot. So when you're at 1,700 votes, 1,767 votes, there are conversations in all the headquarters about what are we missing? Any I's to dot or T's to cross, people to call as we wait for the final votes to come in. That is remarkably close.
We need you and your insight, so you can catch watching him on All Access all night long.
All right. So we can look at some of these areas, and it shows us. I want to see. Let's see. I'm trying to. I was trying to see. I thought we had the totals. I guess they don't have that. I wanted to see how many ballots are out in each of these counties. Doesn't look like it's showing me that. Table options. Total registered. Or is it showing that? It might be because I have this condensed. Let's open it up a little bit. I have to look at that later. I mean, you get an idea though. You have 140,000. This is 42% reporting, so you can double that. I just want to kind of have an idea of what's left. far as numbers. So Becerra and Imperial County, they started to show some numbers there, and he's ahead there. So yeah, so Kings County. So we're just looking at some of the different counties. I just want to see how much. So you have Hilton doing well, and this is one thing we can look at. Let me go up to the top here and see what our numbers are. So we have Becerra. This is very, very close. Within what, like about 5,000 votes separate them. But when we go down, what I want to look at is I want to look at what is left. So Becerra might be able to do, he's performing well in Alameda already. He might be able to continue that, pick up some votes there. You see the registration here, Democrats to the GOP. So you see there's a large difference there. So Becerra can pick up votes there. When it comes to Amador, this is a smaller county, it's 74%. So they're almost done here. And you see more Republicans registered than Democrats. So that will help Hilton, but not by that much because it's not that many votes. When we start looking at the 100,000, so Becerra, Contra Costa, and you see here that Becerra is doing well, and 376,000. So yeah, so I mean, you don't see much of Steyer, like, right? I mean, Steyer is not really performing well, or at least as well as he wanted to be performing. This is what I was looking for. Total registered. Okay. Yeah, so this is what I was kind of looking for. So yeah, it's right now I would say it's going to be Hilton and Becerra. I don't see Steyer able to really shine at this point. It's going to be really hard for him to catch up. So this is what Becerra would want. Even if Becerra isn't number one, the top two go. So as long as he gets that second spot, then he's going to win as far as in the general. Hilton is not going to be able to win. So Imperials come in. Imperials showing us Becerra right now, 44% reporting. Waiting on San Diego. San Diego will be another big number there. And then Ventura as well. These two counties will probably both go for Becerra. I think Ventura County more so than San Diego. But that will be able to. Now, Eureka, interesting. It's not a very big county. Yeah, it's not a very big county, but I'm going to do all that. But that will probably go to Hilton. Steyer might be able. No, it's probably Hilton. You kind of can see the layout, right? You see what's going on here. You have red up top here. You have red on the interior. Yeah, you have red on the interior here, down below here, and then you have the large populated areas in California are moving for the Democrats. That's why when you look at the map, you're looking at all this red, but these are really sparsely populated areas. You don't have a lot of people living here. So it might look like it's Republicans dominating, but they're really not, or I should say Hilton. That's what the red is. Looks like Hilton is dominating these areas, but realistically, they're not pulling that many votes out. I mean, they're pulling a lot, but they're not pulling the same amount as you'd be pulling in Los Angeles and some of these other areas. Now, you saw that dump in Los Angeles. That was it. They slowed down. So, and look, Hilton actually did well, or is doing well in Los Angeles, which in itself is very interesting. So Los Angeles County, very, very blue, but Hilton's doing relatively well. Now let's just move forward and kind of look. As I stated, if Becerra wins and Hilton's number 2, then it's almost a, I won't say a guarantee because there are no guarantees. Almost, it's very likely that Becerra will win in November. And the main reason is because Steyer right now is taking a lot of the votes. So if we're looking at Los Angeles as an example, Steyer has 202,000. So if those votes aren't going to Steyer and they're going to Becerra, if it's Becerra and Hilton, then obviously Becerra would have a lot more votes. So yeah, the only thing I can think of is this: if there's some big scandal that happens. That's why I can't say it's a guarantee. There's a big scandal that happens between Becerra and he either has to step down, or drop out of the race. And then now, I'm sure there's some type of contingency plan that's in place if that were to happen. I guess I don't know how that works in California, but usually the party will have some type of contingency, because remember these primaries are put on by the parties to choose their nominee. So they have to have something in place in case something happens to the person who's there, who's the nominee. So, and I'm not just talking about scandal. It could be anything that happens. They decide that they're either dropping out or, yeah, so that's a situation. All right. So you guys have questions, put it in the chat. I'm getting tired. I'm not going to lie. We've been on this live stream for, let's get our, what is the, doesn't it show me time here? Viewer activity, no, stream settings. I don't know. It shows time on here somewhere. It's been a long live stream. Let me hear. I just know it's been long. It's been at least. Well, we started at 5:45, so 3 hours. Wow. 3 hour live. I've done that in a long time. Actually, I can't remember the last time I did a 3 hour live. But I will be doing more live streams. So make sure you like the video. That brings more people in right now. And then subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing some more lives in the future. Because I do enjoy doing lives. And I like to cover the primaries. But I also want to do some lives. They're not long, maybe like a 20-minute live where it just come on, hey, a new poll just came out, let's take a look. And we take a look at the poll. All right, so we have a flip here. So now we have Hilton in the top spot. So he's moved ahead of Becerra. So 1,036,042. And then Becerra. So what brought him there? Let's see. Okay, San Diego came in. San Diego is showing Hilton at 146,000. Okay, so as I stated, San Diego, they're pretty conservative. So I was thinking that Becerra would at least be able to outpace Hilton in San Diego, but apparently not. As of right now, this is what we're looking at. So we're waiting for Ventura. We'll have to see how that plays out. Will that benefit Becerra? But yeah, we're starting to get down there now. I mean, I think it's safe to say we can call, or I'm calling it. I don't even know. They haven't called anything yet. But I think it's safe to say it's going to be Hilton versus Becerra. because Steyer is just not. Steyer doesn't have another area that, I mean, if anything, I was thinking it would be like San Francisco, or even like that Sonoma's not big enough, but I would think in Northern California we would see Steyer doing well or better than what he's doing, and you see Becerra's pretty much ahead in all of these different areas here. And so the San Jose's and all of that this should have been Steyer. And if it was Steyer, then Steyer would have been doing, much better off, but he just wasn't able to pull it out in those areas. So now we're pretty much waiting to see who's going to be 1-2. What I mean is Becerra going to be able to be the top vote getter versus Hilton, or is Hilton going to be able to be the top vote getter? Which, understand, when we're looking at this, just so, because people look at it and say, wow, you have a Republican winning in California. Well, the Republican is doing well because the Republican only had one other opponent. Okay, so the Republican was running against, or I won't say running against, he's running against the whole field, but with this jungle primary, it was Bianco and Hilton on that side. And then on the Democratic side, you had just a bunch of people. How do I pull that up? Not even able to. Oh, it's at the top there. Yeah, so you have with these candidates here. So you have Bianco. We can look at the whole list here. So we go all the way. So you have like Villaraigosa, Thurman. These are people who are taking votes from the top vote getters. Mahan, the same thing. Porter. You have a lot of Democrats that are splitting some of these votes from Becerra or from Steyer. And so that's the reason why Hilton is able to be ahead right now. And might be able to be the top vote getter because Democrats split their vote between a lot of different people. And look, I mean, it's just, and this is what we're talking about, just having people on the ballot. You have Swalwell still getting votes. 15,000, almost 16,000 votes Swalwell has received so far. He dropped out. And everybody knew he dropped out, right? I mean, that was a big story. So you can't really go to you can't really go to vote and think, and not know about the situation with Swalwell. But people are still voting for him. And I guess some people know, and they're still voting for it. They know he dropped out. Maybe it's a protest vote. I don't know. Villaraigosa, 54,000. So Villaraigosa is one of those candidates that Democrats were calling on Villaraigosa to drop out, but he never did. He is getting 54,000 votes. It's taking votes from the top vote getters. Yee, she dropped out. She or he? I can't remember. I think it's a she. Dropped out, but she's still getting 21,000 votes. So it was very interesting. Mahan, 185,000. Porter, 203,000. And Porter is pretty much around where they were saying that she would be. At least Emerson was saying that she'd be at 5%. The only thing that Emerson didn't get or hasn't gotten, I don't know if we don't have final numbers yet, but they were saying it would be between Becerra and Steyer. But right now it looks like Becerra and Hilton. Now look, this is what, roughly 30,000 votes, right? So if we start looking, we're here. We start looking at what's left. Okay, so we have Ventura in. Hilton is winning in Ventura. Shocking. Wow. Okay. And I say shocking, but realistically, it's not. If you had a Democrat versus a Republican in Ventura, then the Democrat would probably have more votes. But because you have two Democrats, it's not even two Democrats, but because just looking at the screen, you see Becerra and Steyer, both Democrats. So they're taking each other's votes. And then remember, it's not just those three, it's down ballot. You have the other candidates as well. And then what do we have? San Luis Obispo. Okay, same thing there. Yeah, so I think we're about there. I think they can probably safely call this now. Yeah. And even in San Diego, I think, they won't. Oh, I keep zooming in. I was trying to see if I could see the other candidates in San Diego, but I can't. I just wanted to see where the other votes were going. So San Diego, just looking at San Diego, just the votes that we're seeing out of the top three, Becerra and Steyer, they have a combined of almost 200,000. And Hilton has 146,000, but I don't know how many votes Bianco received in San Diego. I'm just interested because some of these counties that we're looking at now, like Santa Barbara, that's not a very big county, but then when we look at San Luis Obispo, another smaller county, but Hilton is outperforming, but he's outperforming because Steyer and Becerra are splitting votes, and the other Democrats as well. Now, Bianco's taken some of the votes from Hilton as well, but it's just not that many. All right, so I don't see that they've called this yet. And so we'll see. So I anticipate it'll probably level off. I think, look at Steyer did well in Eureka. Okay. I would say, I'm just looking for places where Becerra can pick up more votes. And it might, I don't know. We might see Hilton as a top vote getter. What happened with okay, so see, yeah, Los Angeles, they're at 50%. So I think Los Angeles probably will be able to put Becerra over the top once we get all the votes in, because there's still a lot of votes coming out of Los Angeles, and so we're gonna be waiting for that. And then when we were looking at San Francisco, we still have 40% in. Steyer's still in pretty good in. Yeah, I mean, Steyer might be able to make. No, that's 300,000. No. Yeah, Steyer. If Steyer does well in San Francisco, maybe. No, it's still too much. 300,000 is going to be too much. Okay, so and they're showing Karen Bass, Pratt. Wow, Raman is pretty far down. I'm looking at the right hand side here, the mayoral race. Okay. All right, so you guys see how this is shaping up. I was just interested to see, will Democrats get locked out of the general, but that's not going to happen here. So, and all along, even when it was early on, people just weren't tuned in. There was a point just about 4 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, where you had Hilton number 1, you had Bianco number 2 in the polls, and people just weren't tuned in. You had an undecided of like 30%. You had a large group of people that just hadn't decided who they were going to be supporting. And because you had so many Democrats on the ticket, they were taking a lot of the different polls. You know, the people were polling and saying, oh yeah, you know, I like Villaraigosa, or I like Porter, or I like Mehan. So there was a lot of that going on. And so Hilton and Bianco were 1 and 2. And so Democrats were getting scared, thinking, oh, you know what? We could see a situation where we get locked out of the general. But I think people just didn't know. There were so many Democrats, they didn't know who they were voting for. But now that we saw the race really close in and get closer, and people were like, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll vote for Becerra, or we'll vote for Steyer. So that's what transpired there. We don't, and you know, some people might think we don't want to give a vote away and vote for someone who doesn't, you know, according to the polling, they don't even have a shot. So that could be what we saw. But I'm surprised they don't just put 1-2 here, because it's pretty evident. You can look at the map, and I don't really see Steyer having an opportunity unless he's doing relatively well in Los Angeles. Could a lot of the majority of the votes go to him? And I mean, that still wouldn't put him, he needs 300,000 just to get back in the game. So I don't see where he can get that, where he can pick that up. But yeah, when more numbers come in for Los Angeles, I think we'll see Becerra go back over the top in Los Angeles, just with Los Angeles, go over the top on the overall, because right now he's behind by, 32,000. Yeah. All right. What do you guys think? What do you guys think in the chat? Oh my God, I'm tired. All right, we'll be on for a little bit longer. I was hoping that they would call it before I get off, but we'll hang in there and see. I want to see some of these. Mainly want to see Los Angeles come in. That's what I really want to see. Haven't seen that. I mean, I want to see some more come in Los Angeles, I should say, because they can dump another 20% of the votes, and that'll give us a real good idea of what's going on. So Imperial County, Becerra won, or is winning there. Not a very large county, pretty sparse as well, right on the border. And San Diego, Hilton is leading there. And YK Cologne, whatever, and that he thinks that Steyer here still has a shot to get second. I would say he's not out of the race, but he I mean, he's got to really show some numbers here. He has a big gap, about 300,000 votes, right? About 200,000. So could he potentially get some votes in Los Angeles? Maybe 100,000 in Los Angeles. But I mean, Hilton is actually doing a lot better than I thought he would do in Los Angeles. So Hilton's going to increase his lead. Becerra will most likely increase his lead. So Steyer's going to have to get a lot more votes than they did in Los Angeles. All right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really see Steyer having a shot at this point. This is interesting here. Small little county. Steyer won there in Alpine County. Oh. Yeah, I don't know. So, Bakersfield. Yeah, Bakersfield's pretty conservative. Tulare. All right. Heather's saying that Hilton will be cooked in the midterms. All those extra votes will go to Becerra. Yeah, I mean it's very hard. The Republicans' best shot was just doing that. Running it. You know what Hilton's talking. I want to see what he's saying here.
Sort of in terms of where we go from here. If you do make the top two, which it looks like right now that you will, would you rather go up against Javier Becerra or Tom Steyer?
I don't mind who it is, because the real point is we can't have another Democrat. I know people look at California and they say, how can a Republican possibly win in a state like this? My response is, how can a Democrat win? We've had 16 years of one-party rule by the Democrats. They've controlled every statewide elected office, all the big counties and the cities, both chambers of the legislature with a 2/3 majority, the state Supreme Court 6-1. They've had 16 years to show that their ideas can deliver positive outcomes for Californians. I think we've waited enough to see that. The answer is no, they don't deliver positive results, and it's time for something new in California. By the way, it's just time for some balance. Remember, our whole system in America is built on that idea of checks and balances. It's not healthy to have one party controlling everything for so long. So I think an argument that a lot of Democrats respond to.
You know that the challenge for you, though, going forward is going to be this Trump endorsement, which Democrats will bring up over and over again. And just today, the president put out another post showing support for you. The vice president of the United States put out another post supporting you, which clearly is intended to help get the Republican base behind you. But you're going to need a lot more than that to win in November. Did you ask for this endorsement? Did you know that this was coming today, this post from the White House? And what do you say to Democrats and independents that fear like you're not going to stand up to Donald Trump as president, as governor?
No, I didn't ask for either endorsement. I'm totally honored to have it. As a proud American who loves this country, a new American citizen since 2021, it's an incredible honor to be endorsed by the president and the vice president of the United States in the first time I've ever run for office. I think the real point about those endorsements and about the connection between the lives of Californians, that's the important point. Because actually, I think it will mean that we can deliver positive results for the people of California if you've got a governor who wants to work with the president and his team to make positive change happen. For example, opening up oil and gas production in California is how we're going to get gas prices down to close to what you see in the rest of the country. We need to manage our forests better so that we can reduce wildfire risk. The president and his team want to do that. The governor currently is fighting that. Stopping the fraud and waste of public money in our healthcare system so we can focus resources on where they need to go. Again, having a partnership there to make positive change happen, I think is going to be very helpful to deliver practical results for everyone in California.
Steve Hilton, thank you for being with us. We've also extended a similar invite to Javier Becerra and to Tom Steyer. We hope they'll join us later in the broadcast. Enjoy tonight. I know you've worked really hard, and have some fun with your supporters. Thank you.
Yeah. So, and this is actually goes to my point. I was talking about this before. So you have Hilton, perfect opportunity. Now, Hilton, he addressed some of the problems, but what's your plan moving forward? You know what I mean? I'm not hearing that plan. Gas prices. What are you going to do to bring down gas prices? he's saying working with the current administration. Okay, what is the current administration doing right now to bring down gas prices? With the forestry stuff there, I mean, he cited the problem, but what is your pathway to, how are you going to move forward to make that happen? So I know when a politician or a candidate is speaking, they only have a certain amount of time that they can speak. But I think they need to kind of at least give people an idea of how they're going to make some of these changes that he's saying needs to be made. And it's not just him. It's not just Hilton. Politicians on both sides do this. But one thing that I can say, if you have a record, we can at least look to your record and say, okay, they've done some things in the past. So we kind of have an idea of where your mind is, how you're going to address some of these issues, because you had a track record of addressing issues in the past. But when you're brand new, first time running, like he stated, he just became a citizen in 2021. We don't know anything about Hilton. So you have to really sell your plan better. You can't just be out there just saying, well, these are the problems. Okay. These are the problems. What are you going to do to solve these problems? We hear that so much. And we're in a day and age now where you have a lot of people who are running for office. They don't have any track record. Some people might think, well, that's a good thing. But if you don't have a track record, then we don't really know who we're voting for, because we don't know what their plans are moving forward. All right. Los Angeles still hasn't really moved. Santa Barbara is the same. Orange County, pretty much the same. So we saw this big dump, and now I guess the big dump was the early vote and the same day drop-offs. They just ran those through the machines, but now we're waiting for the rest of the ballots, people who voted today. But yeah, someone was saying that they're disappointed that Steyer didn't do better, or surprised. Yeah, I'm disappointed. And I'm surprised that Steyer isn't performing better. Just because he spent a lot of money. And his ads, I'm in California now. I was in Colombia for I just came back in May, the beginning of May. And so it's like every other commercial was Steyer, really, every other commercial was Steyer, or something, a commercial that was endorsed by Steyer. So we have Bass doing her little speech here. So it looks like she's going to be running. Well, right now it looks like she's going to be running against Pratt.
And jobs are the way we deal with affordability. And David Green over there from SEIU 721. And let me just say, we also have leaders of the business community here, because it takes the business community, the labor community, grassroots organizations. We can have the city that we know we all deserve. Los Angeles is where I was born and raised. Los Angeles is the city that I love. Los Angeles is the creative capital of the world, where we dream and we make our dreams come true, where our industry was leaving, but we're bringing it back. We're bringing it back because we understand the good jobs and the business opportunities that come from the creative industry. We're going to build a city where parents and kids do not have to navigate tents, because in the nation's second largest city, there should never be anybody that is sleeping on our streets. We are a city that can deal with this, and we have been doing it, and we are going to continue. We are a city where things have been not affordable over these last few years, but we're going to continue building the housing that we know we are needed in this city. 42,000 units are already underway. And in the next 4 years, we're going to finish those 42,000 units because we know that that's the key to affordability. And we are a city that is unified. You just think this Saturday marks 1 year from the dark day in our city when we all had to face the raids by ICE. And they thought that they were going to divide our city. But nobody divides Angelenos, right? Because we stand up for each other. Because I don't care where you're from, when you got here, or why you're here. You are an Angeleno, and we are going to fight for you. And we are
from
going
Los
to
Angeles Mayor
you.
Karen Bass, she is currently leading right now in the.
All right. So yeah, just getting back to Steyer. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't, or he's not performing better than he is. I would think if anything, he could have still been in third, but he would have been close to second place. But yeah, that's not the case. So Hilton's pulling ahead a little bit here. Let's see. We have. So we're seeing all these inland areas are filling in now. Yeah, so we're pretty much just waiting for Los Angeles, and I think San Francisco still has some to come in. I'm just looking at counties where we could see Becerra move into first, but at this point it doesn't matter. We're gonna have a general with between Hilton and Becerra. And this is what Becerra would want, obviously, because if it was Becerra versus Steyer, it would have been a real struggle. And it would have cost a lot of money. And another thing, too, the Democratic Party can look at it. Well, realistically, Democratic Party, they don't want to spend a lot of money on these races, but they might have to spend some money in the new districting because they're drawing new lines in California. So you do have one district in the San Diego area that is they've drawn the new lines and Democrats are ahead, but not by much in that district in San Diego. So they've been able to draw new lines to pick up 5 seats. But there's that one of those 5 seats in San Diego it's going to be it looks like it's going to play out to be a very close race. Democrats do have an advantage, but they don't have a huge advantage. And you see here, Hilton, just looking at San Diego County, Hilton is able to pull some votes. So you do have Republicans in San Diego. It's so whoever's running for. And I don't know the candidate who's running down there. I was Issa, but I think Darrell Issa he's retiring. What's going on here? All right, let's see here. Yeah, so wanted to hold out. Yeah, wanted to see if we could wait until they call this, but I don't think they're going to call it anytime soon. Yeah, we'll wait 1 second. But I do need to take a break, so I will take a break. I'll be right back.
polling has borne out that it's not just an internet phenomenon, actually. It's not just Republicans, and yes, you run in this city without party affiliation next to your name, and Spencer Pratt says he's running for Democrats, and Jesus is his role model. But, from my reporting, which is anecdotal, what I'm waiting to see, whether this is proved out, is there support among no party preference voters in the city? Is there support among Democrats and quiet voters? By the way, also, I'm interested to see, these predominantly Jewish neighborhoods in the city that swung Pico Robertson, that swung for people watching like 25 points to Donald Trump in 2024 over concerns about anti-Semitism coming from the left. Spencer Pratt has been very loud about fighting anti-Semitism and trying to run up the score. I've talked to many Jewish voters and donors, including Haim Saban, who gave money to Spencer Pratt. I mean, so I do think that his messaging around public safety, which to Ron's point is something that Democrats kind of got away from over the years, has resonated. My question, though, is what is his support in non-white precincts in this town? And is this just white homeowners on the west side who are worried about homeless people and pushing their strollers around poop and syringes, as Spencer Pratt likes to say? So again, they're still counting the votes.
Yeah, I think that this, though, affects the immigrant store owners on Olvera Street. This affects,
But that's what I want to see. I mean, because I think he does. He has made an
dream.
effort to campaign in these non-white neighborhoods, South LA, wherever. I just want to see what the results are.
The question won't be whether they are affected by it. The question is whether they see him as a reasonable response to it. I mean, that's going to be the challenge.
Or are they so fed up that they're willing to take
They've been voting for the same.
They've
been voting for people that look like them, that have completely abandoned them and done nothing to help them.
It was interesting being at a polling place today in North Hollywood, spending hours talking to voters myself, how there were a lot of people that were motivated by Spencer either way. And he really drove people. But now we're going to go back to the governor's race. Tom Steyer is speaking, and let's listen into what he has to say.
The state is in crisis, and so is our nation. California is the richest state in the richest country in the history of the world. It's unacceptable that right now so many Californians struggle to make ends meet. We're about to see the world's first trillionaires, probably in California. We're already witnessing an explosion of wealth concentrated in the hands of the very, very few. The gap between the rich and the poor grows wider by the minute. Prices are higher than ever. Faith in government's ability to do anything is lower than ever. Californians are being priced out of their homes every single day. While it happens, we see billionaires do whatever they have to get whatever they can out of the system, and then do everything they can to hoard their wealth and avoid paying taxes. And we see corporations continue to rig the system for themselves, raising your prices to juice their profits. Screw that. California deserves better. Working people deserve better. Democracy matters. Justice matters. The truth matters. Anyone who says otherwise is invested in a system rigged against you. Here's the truth. For every bill that's too high, there's a special interest profiting off keeping it there. They want you to believe that's inevitable, that it's just how the market works. But that's bullshit. We don't have to accept this. This campaign has been about proving that. My vision for California is based on a simple idea. The well-being of the most vulnerable shouldn't depend on corporations and billionaires choosing to do the right thing. We should have a system based on fairness, not on asking for fairness, where the most privileged pay their fair share not by charity, but by law. A system that reminds them of what I've been saying since the very beginning of this campaign. You didn't do it all yourselves. The soon-to-be tech trillionaires built their wealth here because California enabled them to. Because ordinary Californians worked hard and sacrificed day after day, year after year, to create the system where those billionaires could realize the dreams they came to this state to pursue. The California I believe in is a California where recognizing that hard work and honoring that sacrifice is fundamental to assigning credit and to designing our society. This race, more than any other in recent memory, laid bare the basic operating principle of American politics, a very uncomfortable truth. Money talks. In this race, we saw what corporate money tends to ask for: higher rents, lower wages, permission to pollute, to price gouge, and to treat workers as disposable. And in this race, we saw the way that money from some of the wealthiest people and corporations in the history of the world mobilized when I said I'd tax it fairly. We saw a direct causal relationship between my plans for change and the $55 million of corporate money that's flooded in to stop me. Single-payer health care, here come the insurance companies. Clean energy, here comes Chevron. Taxing AI, what about Meta? Lowering electric bills, hello PG&E. To quote FDR, never before in all our history have these forces
We're listening to billionaire Tom Steyer speak on his race for California governor. I want to go right to John King because he's been following all this at the Magic Wall. Has there been movement? I mean, we're seeing him talk right now. He's obviously not conceding. He's still in the running. Talk to me.
There has not been much movement. We're up to 48% of the vote estimated counted. I think it was 47 last time we talked, so we don't have that much more. The results pretty much the same. Steve Hilton on top, a 36,668 vote lead over Javier Becerra. He's the top Democrat right now at 26%. Tom Steyer, who you were just listening to, is at 20% if you round that up. He is not conceding, and there's a lot of votes to be counted. So there's no guarantee that he will not make the top two. It's the top two who make it. But an observation, Laura, as you listen to him there, is he's complaining about the money spent against him, as he says, to keep him down here. We'll see if he ends up down there. If he does, and this ends up being a Hilton-Becerra, one of the things you look for out of primaries is how deep are the wounds, how much healing has to be done, and there clearly would have to be some Steyer, Becerra. And the money came in from other sources as well, but some of it came in to support Becerra. So we'd have to see the healing piece of the Democratic Party. So where are we looking for votes still? Let's go through this quickly. L.A. says it's up to 50%. So, it's Becerra, Hilton, Steyer. You come through the big red swath here. These are your rural Republican areas. You know they're going to come in this way. The interesting thing is you go through this. There was a split in the Republican vote. Chad Bianco does not have a chance to make the top three, at least not by any math I can see right there. But in a lot of these Republican counties, you do see places where he generally ran second to Steve Hilton. And so Mr. Hilton could have had a bigger overall total, if you will, had there not been another Republican in the race. But there are also a ton of Democrats in the race as well. So as we approach the halfway point, 27% to 26% to 20% if you round everybody up. Again, the top two make it. A lot of outstanding votes still in the Democratic area, so I could give you scenarios where both of these gentlemen go up a little bit. But we're going to have to wait and count those votes as we get through it. Steyer sounded like a candidate who he's not ready to concede. He sounded like someone who doesn't think he's going to make it into the top two. But again, Laura, we'll count them.
Go to Iowa for me, John, because I want to go through the big races that are happening there.
So in Iowa, let me come up first to the Senate race on the Republican side. Let me come up to the Senate race first, which is secondary almost. But Ashley Hinson expected to win and won big in the Republican Senate primary. This was a competitive race, but it was not competitive in the end. Josh Turek, with a lot of Washington money, establishment money coming in to help him, will be the Democratic candidate. Interesting, we talk about primary bruises. Zach Walz quickly endorsed Mr. Turek tonight and said he would help him in November try to beat Ms. Hinson. Now let's come down to the governor's race. Let me get this to slide up a little bit as we go through the night. Unopposed in the Iowa governor's race was Rob Sand. He's the state auditor. He has won statewide. That's why Democrats are reasonably optimistic about Iowa. This was the biggest surprise of the night. If you look at this, in recent weeks, what have we been talking about? The power of Donald Trump in Republican primaries. Donald Trump picked Randy Feenstra in this race, and Randy Feenstra, a congressman from up here in northwest Iowa, lost tonight. So a defeat for President Trump and a defeat for Randy Feenstra after a string of victories for the president. Farmer businessman Zach Lane will be the Republican candidate for governor. Again, this is a race that the Democrats believe they have a chance to win, and they think because they have a competitive candidate for governor that helps them down ballot in that Senate race. And Democrats, they're very confident they can flip one Republican House seat in Iowa. They're reasonably confident they can make a second at least competitive. So it's been a long time, Laura, since we were looking at Iowa as a battleground state. In the 2026 midterms, there's no guarantee the Democrats will win anything, but they are competitive. They haven't been that way in a while.
Very fluid still. John King, thank you so much. My panel is back with me. Now, let's talk about...
All right. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on in California, but they are, let's see, that's Orange County, Los Angeles, still at 52 points. They really haven't moved much. So looks like they're not going to. We're gonna have to wait a little bit longer. So I am gonna have to go because I've been on for going on 4 hours, almost 4 hours, just shy of 4 hours, and so I will be back on tomorrow, or not back on a live stream, but I'll be putting out a video tomorrow, so make sure you check out the latest video. Thank you guys all for stopping by. I appreciate you being here and watching the returns with me. And we'll do more. We're going to do one next week. We have another primary coming next week, and we'll do one. If you guys have any ideas of how I can make this better, the live stream. So right now, I think I like using Decision Desk on the left-hand side here. I like having at least one of the news outlets on the right here, so we can kind of go back and forth as we watch things, and then we can just talk about different things as we're watching them. So just let me know if there's an idea that you have. Oh, you know what? I think it'd be great if you could do this or do that. We can look into doing those things in the future. I did have some other things that I wanted to do, like I wanted to show some clips of different things. Not necessarily live stuff, but just show some clips of stuff that's happened in the past, and we can have some discussion on that. In the future, I will be doing live streams, and that's what I want to do. This is in my head. I want to have like a kind of a focus group set up where we're doing a live stream, but it's a focus group where we're asking different questions to you guys, or we, I say we, I'm the only one here, but where I'm asking different questions of you guys about different scenarios, different situations, how you feel about certain candidates, and we can kind of do a focus group like that. So real time focus group. Now I know the sample size, I mean, we could get a lot of people involved. That would be good. But I don't really know where you guys are watching from and all of that. So it's not going to be really scientific, but we could at least get an idea of how people feel. I think that's important, just to know how people are feeling about different things that are going on, how you feel about the economy, how you feel about this war in Iran, and how you feel about certain candidates running for office. How do you feel about certain states flipping, maybe a state that's a red state now flipping blue and all that. So that's something that I want to do in the future too. But I am going to go ahead and take off and make sure there's a video that I put out today, AI. So I did a video on AI predicting or giving us a forecast for the 2026 midterm election with about the House, on the House, or how many seats Democrats can gain in the House. Can Democrats take back control of the House? Check that video out, please. And you can share that video. And yeah, that's all I really wanted to say. Like the video on the way out. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet.